Girls High School, 9, Magereza Academy Secondary School, 10, Kiambogo Secondary School, 11, St. Cecilia Aluor Girls Secondary School, 12, Irigathathi Secondary School, 13, Othaya Boys High School, and 14, Kiambogo Secondary School. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay.
Thank you. Honorable Owen. Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements.
Honorable members, before we go to the questions and statements, allow me to reorganize the order paper so that we go to order number 8, then revert back to order number 7. Order number 8.
Order number 8, motion. Report of the Committee of the Whole House in the Community Health Workers Bill, National Assembly Bill number 53 of 2022.
Honorable members, I therefore put the question that this House do agree with the report of the Committee of the Whole House on its consideration of the Community Health Workers Bill, National Assembly Bill number 53 of 2022. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. As many as are of a contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Mover of the bill, kindly move third reading in the amended form.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the Community Health Promoters Bill, National Assembly Bill number 53 of 2022 be now read a third time, and I also request Honorable our Chair, Dr. Pokose, to second.
Honorable Pokose.
Honorable Speaker, I second.
Honorable members, I have confirmed that we have the requisite quorum for the purpose of this decision. I therefore put the question, which is that the Community Health Promoters Bill, National Assembly Bill number 53 of 2022, be now read a third time. As many as are of that opinion say aye. As many as are of a contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it.
A bill for an act of parliament to regulate the practice of community health promoters, to make provision for the training and registration of community health promoters, to establish the Community Health Promoters Council, and for connected purposes.
We revert back to order number 7.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
The first question is as listed on the order paper by Honorable Peter Lochakapong. Member for Sigor.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. It's actually not a question, but a request for a statement.
Yes, statement.
Now, Honorable Speaker, this is a request for a statement regarding killing of livestock by security officers in West Pokot County. Now, Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44.2c, now I wish to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations regarding the killing of livestock by security officers in West Pokot County. Now, Honorable Speaker, there has been rampant cases of livestock killings in West Pokot County that has affected the residents, including 3 cases that were reported earlier. Now, on Tuesday, 15 October 2024, 2 herders were injured and rushed to Kapenguria Referral District Hospital after a multi-agency team of security officers led by Kenya Defense Forces engaged in a security operation in Amolem village in West Pokot County. Now, the 2 herders were injured after the security officers mistook them as bandits and opened fire and 3 grenades at them. Additionally, numerous livestock were injured and 13 cows belonging to Mr. Kokat Lochelpong Aleutum Aletom of ID number 7686375 killed during the raid. Now, Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations on the following. 1, an explanation on the circumstances that led to the injury of the 2 residents and killing of livestock by a grenade used by the security officers. 2, a report on the measures the government has put in place to protect the residents, including taking action against those found to be culpable of the crime. Now, 3, relief measures and any compensation plan that the government is putting in place to support the victims. And 4, Honorable Speaker, measures in place to ensure now the security agencies operating among communities establish structures and mechanisms of obtaining information that aids in providing security. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The chair had indicated is engaged in ministry function. Honorable Kwenya.
Thank you, Chair. I wish to respond on behalf of the Chair and assure the Honourable Member that this matter is going to be forwarded to the relevant ministry, that Ministry of Defence, and response should be expected within 14 days. Thank you, Chair.
In the next 2 weeks, next is the member for Bumula, Honorable Wamboka. If not in the House, we shall go to the responses, starting with the Committee of Defence. Again, Honorable Kwenya.
Thank you, Chair. I have responses to statements that were requested by the member for Mwala first.
Begin as in the order paper. Start with the Honorable Felix Odiwuor.
Oh, thank you, Chair. I start with one that was requested by the member for Langata, the Honorable Felix Odiwuor, alias Jalango, on the issue of he sought statement regarding the current management and public access to Uhuru Gardens. Madam Speaker, the member for Langata constituency, the Honorable Felix Odiwuor MP, sought for statement pursuant to Standing Order 44.2c regarding the current management and public access to Uhuru Gardens. He specifically raised the following concerns in his request for statement: clarification on whether Uhuru Gardens will remain an open public space as was earlier, or has become a space of controlled visits and access. B, a report on the status of completion of renovations of Uhuru Gardens by the Kenya Defense Forces, and when will the public be granted access. Then C, the reasons for permission of certain activities at Uhuru Gardens or the general public is denied access. And D, plans in place to ensure that Uhuru Gardens is listed on e-citizen platforms, specifically the 222 portal, to allow citizens to make payments or bookings for public access and events, thus ensuring accountability and transparency. Honorable Speaker, the committee engaged the Ministry of Defense on the above concerns raised by the Honorable Felix Odiwuor MP, I therefore wish to respond to the issues as follows. Clarifications on the public access to Uhuru Gardens. The ministry confirmed that Uhuru Gardens remains a public space. However, it was closed for renovations. Once these works are completed, the gardens will reopen to the public. The facility includes a museum and open spaces. The priority given to completing the main stadium, which is already hosting events including national celebrations. Other areas including museum galleries remain under construction and will open once fully completed. On the status of renovations and timelines for public access, the ministry stated that the project is approximately 80% complete, with artifacts and exhibition components of 60% completion. While full access will be granted upon the completion of the project, a partial opening to select groups to allow for system testing. The ministry assured that the project will fully reopen when construction is concluded and exhibition content for galleries are adequate. On provision for activities amid limited public access, the ministry clarified that although the project is not fully completed, certain sections such as the main stadium and the tomb of the unknown warriors are complete. The complete areas are open to the public whenever required, noting that the ministry allows members of the public to use the main stadium on request. Several events have been held at the venue, including national celebrations and Standard Chartered Marathon. The tomb of the unknown warrior, regarded as a sacred site, is available for dignitaries to honor fallen heroes through wreath-laying ceremonies. Then on listing on e-citizen platform, the ministry confirmed that Uhuru Gardens Museum and Monument will be listed on the e-citizen platform once the project is completed and commissioned. This is in line with the government policy, and the ministry assured compliance with the requirement to enable payments and bookings, ensuring accountability and transparency. I submit. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Jalas, are you satisfied?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We are satisfied with these answers, and we accept.
Thank you. Next response, Honorable Kwenya, to the member for Mwala.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. This is response to a request for statement by the Honorable Vincent Musyoka, MP Mwala constituency, regarding the serious death of Mr. William Alfred Mulwa Mutilangi in the United States of America. Honorable Speaker, the Member of Parliament for Mwala constituency, the Honorable Engineer Vincent Musyoka, MP, sought for a statement pursuant to Standing Orders 44.2c on the mysterious death of Mr. William Alfred Mulwa Mutilangi. He specifically raised the following concerns in his request for statement: the status of investigations into the suspicious hospitalization, mysterious death, and hurried cremation of Mr. Mutalangi in the USA under the power of attorney by Kahudhu and advocates under unclear circumstances without involvement of the family of the deceased. B, the steps taken by the government to ensure that all the perpetrators of the death and the issuers of the suspicious power of attorney for the cremation of Mr. Mutilangi are brought to book and prosecuted. C, the actions taken by the government to ensure that Mr. Mutalangi's family is protected from threats by persons likely to be associated with his death, including securing them from being disinherited of the estate of their deceased kin. And D, measures taken by the government to ensure that all Kenyans who die in the diaspora are well preserved and their remains efficiently transported back to their families if they so wish. Honorable Speaker, the committee engaged the Office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary and the Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs on the above concerns raised by the Honorable Vincent Musyoka. I therefore wish to respond to the issues as follows. Honorable Speaker, the State Department of Foreign Affairs received an official request from family of the late Mr. Alfred William Mutilangi, seeking assistance in locating him in New York City. This request followed a notification from the family and from a family acquaintance, Mr. Ndambuki, regarding Mr. Mutilangi's death on the 16th October 2023 at Hudson Valley Hospital, that is in New York. The family requested that the department confirm the death of Mr. Mutilangi. Determine the location and condition of his remains and obtain contact information for his at his son's request. The funeral home, however, declined to disclose the specific cause of death, citing that data protection concerns. To maintain client confidentiality, the funeral home indicated that it would only communicate with a legally appointed family representative. This information was relayed to Mr. Mutilangi family through Mr. Vincent Mutilangi. Attempts to gather additional information from PepsiCo regarding Mr. Mutilangi's employment were unsuccessful. PepsiCo indicated that conflicting claims from individuals claiming to be family members had made it difficult for them to disclose any information, save to a duly appointed legal representative. Consequently, the State Department advised the family to initiate succession, cause and obtain letters of administration for an appointed administrator, Mr. Mutilangi's estate, to directly engage the funeral home and his employer. Further investigations revealed that Mr. Mutilangi may not have maintained a close relationship with his immediate family in Kenya. His family was unaware of his illness, and admission to hospice came until after his death. It also emerged that Mr. Mutilangi may have had a family, including a son and a wife, reportedly of Tanzanian nationality, a fact disputed by his Kenyan family. These family dynamics necessitated legal intervention, rendering the matter outside the scope of the embassy involvement. The inquiries conducted by the State Department thus confirmed Mr. Mutilangi's family and the cremation of his remains. That is, let me take it again. The inquiries conducted by the State Department thus confirmed Mr. Mutilangi's death and the cremation of his remains. However, due to conflicting claims from various parties whose interests could not be verified, certain details, including the precise cause of death, information on his next of kin, and his dues from PepsiCo, could not be ascertained. The complex family circumstances and involvement of multiple interested parties further complicated the situation. Following the guidance of the State Department, the family of Mr. Mutilangi has filed a case in New York. I submit, and I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member for Mwala, is that the true status?
You know, Honorable Speaker, this is what would be clearly called just a catwalk story, because I think I have been told nothing new. The ministry is just basically repeating the preliminary information that I had given them so that they can do investigation. Mr. Mutilangi has a family here in Kenya. Mr. Mutilangi is a guy who was not married. That complicates the situation. There are people who have been preying on, criminals who have been preying on Mr. Mutilangi's and taking advantage of the fact that he did not have an immediate family in the US. It is feared that these same people claiming to be family who have since run away and actually revoked their earlier statements that they were indeed family. These are the same people feared to have killed or murdered Mutilangi. As we speak, Mutilangi's family here in Kenya, they have not even buried their beloved son. Mutilangi has a brother, Mutilangi has a family in my constituency. They are yet to bury their beloved one. Why? Because they cannot even get access, they cannot even get visa to collect the remains of their beloved one who was burned down to ashes illegally by some criminals who now the ministry is just giving us stories. I think with all fairness, I do not think the family is getting justice with this response. The fourth part of my question, Honorable Speaker, was what action is being taken by ministries so that such cases, even the deceased persons, can be taken back to this country, can be transported back to this country. And the family has not even been, with so many requests, they have written even to the embassy, they have been given appointments, they have been denied visas to go and collect the ashes so that they can bury Mutilangi according to our customs. So, Madam Speaker, I fear that this particular statement does not, I do not even know what this statement seeks to advise the family to do. Because it is full of hearsay, it is claiming that it is said, it was heard that maybe he has another family. Why didn't you investigate to know whether that other family exists or not? Because that is why the highest office we have is that office now of the Prime Cabinet Secretary. Since what you are telling us is what we know, we expected that. Now you'll go to the extra step and tell us.
Let us not debate it further. Seek clarification.
Madam Speaker,
just seek clarification.
There is really nothing to seek clarification on a matter that is not even responded to.
I have given you quite some time
you.
to put your issues. Then we hear from the committee on the way forward. Honorable Makwiny.
Thank you, Chair. I really empathize and sympathize with the situation of the family. In fact, the issues they have raised are pertinent, but I think because we sat as a committee and engaged the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Diaspora, and the matter was brought to our committee, and yes, the issue that you're raising in terms of that the family has not had their share of justice, we found out that they have filed a case in New York that is ongoing. And I think it's only fair that the honorable member acquaints himself with the content of the case so that then he can assist the family to just get justice from that end. Because as it is, the deceased had a will or had died at some, what I would call tested death. He had stated that in the event that he passes on, he should be cremated. And the government of Kenya is very keen on issues to do with people who pass on out of its jurisdiction. Our embassies have been very proactive to help families. They're always in contact with families to help them to transport their deceased to whatever side they would want them buried. But now, where there's a will of someone, of what someone would want to be done to them once they pass on, then the government has there's nothing much that they can do. But in terms of investigating this matter, because now it's actively in court, I believe the best thing that the honorable member for Mwala should do is just to acquaint himself with the content of the case and maybe support the family where need be. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member for Mwala.
Maybe, Honorable Speaker, I'm not very good in legal matters, but I just wanted to know. So, Kenyan citizens in the US, they must seek justice in the US? Because now what you're telling me is that the only way out for this family is to seek justice in the US when they cannot even travel to the US because they have been denied visas to the US. Who is supposed to come in for this family? We need to understand what we should tell the family, whether that's it for Kenya now. They are on their own. They go to the US, and also tell us if you have any plans to assist the family to get the remains of the ashes to this country for the burial. That's what we want to know.
Honorable Kwenya. Wait, there is a point of order from Honorable Raso.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the ping pong we are hearing between the two members, somebody dies in a foreign jurisdiction. That does not fall within the realm of the Kenyan courts. What the Foreign Affairs is advising is exactly what Honorable Kwenya there is saying. This individual died while he has a will. It's not just any other thing. There is a will. So the will of a person who has died must be respected, whether it is in Kenya or whether it is in that foreign jurisdiction. What Honorable Kawaya here should be asking through the committee, the Foreign Affairs, is how they will try to intervene so that the disease is interned in the custom of their community. And there is only so much that the Kenya government can do to help that situation, because I think it's more complicated than we are hearing just for the exchanges between the two individuals. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
This will be a final chance, Honorable Kwenya, to make any further, which is different from what you've already said.
Thank you, Chair. You know, there's something that the Honorable MP from Wala is raising.
They are the authors of that response. So when you say they don't understand, then it contradicts.
In which case, the substantive speaker has ruled in the past that any chair presenting any matter here must first satisfy themselves that it represents the truth with the ministry. He is responding to this as the cabinet secretary. And I'm just saying that there is nothing in this statement. There seems to be so much they do not know. No investigation has been given to these allegations, which still remain allegations. And we are asking, if they still remain allegations, who is then supposed to unearth the allegations? Because if we say that's it, then what are we advising the family to do?
Member for Mwala, before I give you Honorable Makali, I think we have gotten now to conflicting issues. You have brought the issue of murder, which is not come out from the statement, because from the statement they have said he died in the hospice. Chronic illness in the hospice, and he had already written down his will. But let me indulge Honorable Makali Mulu, then we will make progress from here.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. You know, Honorable Speaker, listening to the Honorable Kawai and the representative of the chair, it is obvious that they will not get a solution in this sitting. Because, Honorable Speaker, the statement which has been read is actually a statement but I'm on a point of order. How do you ask a point of order when someone is on a point of order?
Continue, Honorable Makali.
I thought CNN is a ranking member. You still... So, Honorable Speaker, what I wanted to say is this. I think if we are just to assist Honorable Member from Mwala, is that maybe the chair could facilitate a meeting where they call the PS and the Honorable Member from Mwala attends. Because I think the kind of questions asking will be able to be answered by the minister. Otherwise, my friend here, Honorable Thuku, can never answer some of those questions. I wish it was a question other than a statement, because then a statement is written. So the chair can only read a statement for you, and that is the end of the story. But if they can facilitate a meeting,
thank you,
I think they'll be able to help the member.
I think that is the route we will take. And Honorable Mwala, member for Mwala, I agree with Honorable Makali that we will not get a solution from this statement. So I would propose that the chair of the committee, and not propose, direct that the chair of the committee recalls the Minister of Foreign Affairs, whether the cabinet, Prime Cabinet Secretary and the PS for Foreign Affairs, and call you for the meeting so that you're also present. These questions should be better answered by the ministry themselves. Honorable Kwenya, guided.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the guidance. Indeed, this family needs closure to this matter, and therefore we'll endeavor to do whatever it is that is within our purview and responsibility just to bring this matter to rest. I'll communicate the same to the chair of our committee. Thank you, Chair.
That is well guided. Next question, next statement from the chair, Energy. You are on the other side now to respond to Honorable Makali Mulu.
No, things change so fast. Now I'm on the frying pan. Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Member Makali Mulu requested for a statement regarding the status of compensation to Master Simon A. Muema for injuries sustained following electrocution from Kenya power lines. Honorable Speaker, the response we have gotten from the ministry, we do not satisfy ourselves that it really helps anyone, and we'll be seeking your guidance on how to prosecute that matter further. Honorable Speaker, this is a response that Master Simon Muema suffered electrical burns at Chedhani village in Mwingi on 17th December 2017 while playing with part of vandalized stay wire that was attached to a pole with electrical conductors. In the course of playing with the remaining part of the stay wire came into contact with a low voltage LV line causing it to be energized. The responses are as follows. The incident was duly reported to Kenya Power, Mwingi office on 20th December 2019 and the insurance department on 12th August 2020. The matter was subsequently reported to the insurers, CIC Insurance Company Limited, through Utmost Insurance Brokers Limited. B, the insurers have since indicated that they are unable to take up the matter since Master Muema, who was playing with the stay wire, is the one who caused it to be energized when it swung against the LV line. KPLC has asked the insurance company to review its decision, but they have declined to pay the claim also citing expiry of limitation period. In this regard, Kenya Power and Lighting Company has referred the matter to the regulator to review and enable its logical conclusion. And Honorable Speaker, and like I said, this particular response unearths a new potential area of corruption where some of our sagas are actually reaping a lot of money through insurance firms. And when the cases now come, the insurance firms do not want to take liability, they want to run away. In this particular case, it is sad that the insurance and Kenya Power want to claim that a low-hanging wire that a kid touched and they got electrocuted, then the kid is the author of his own misfortune. It is very sad that even with simple understanding that it is supposed to be understood that wires are not supposed to be loosely hanging in the first place. So the fact that the wire was loosely hanging, that is already a liability on the Kenya Power's. So the matter is already referred to the regulator, but as a committee, we have resolved to have even including the insurers and also make an audit of all the monies that have been paid to these insurance firms and the claims so far that have materialized that be paid, so that we can also be able to tell Kenyans that the monies being paid by our sagas to insurance firms actually means something. Because if this particular case has not been taken by insurance firm, it means no other case would ever be taken, because this is like the very first case that should have been paid in terms of liabilities.
Member for Kitui Central.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the chairperson of that committee for admitting that this statement is totally inadequate. When I looked at this statement, Honorable Speaker, I was just asking myself whether Kenya Power knows what they should be doing. Because on a serious note, when you say that a child was playing at the gate of a primary school and finds a loose hanging wire, which is life, and by touching that wire suffers serious injuries, and they say the child was the cause of that injury. So, Honorable Speaker, from what the chair said, that was my position, that this statement should not even have been presented to this House. It's actually a shame that somebody signed for this statement to come to this House. The other thing they're also saying, the insurance cannot be able to pay because of a lapsed time. This matter was reported immediately it happened. And it is because of the delay of Kenya Power taking the family round that we have spent all this time. Since 2017, Honorable Speaker, about 7 years. And then they talk about a lapsed time. I agree with the chair, this matter needs to be revisited and we need to get justice for this young person. Otherwise, it's already the small boy is now disabled, and then you want to make it worse by even saying you cannot compensate. I want to, Madam Speaker, you need to give direction on this matter because we are not happy, and even the House should be able to act on this institution because I think this statement is an abuse to this House. I submit.
Honorable Vincent, I think the precedent has been set by your issue. So you should be able to, first of all, when you follow up that issue, you invite Honorable Makali to be present, to be able to execute and prosecute the issues that are still pending. But as you have said, it is not sufficient. You can give the commitment from here on how long you will need and what action you will take.
Honorable Speaker, this matter is not a small one because it might even form an inquiry. Because we want to know if a claim like this cannot be paid, then what other claims have not been paid? How much money have we been paying? So I would request that we are given enough time so that we can do a full inquiry on this particular matter because it affects so many other Kenyans. So if Honorable Speaker, you can give us 1 month, I would be more than happy so that we can, this matter will also end up helping other Kenyans who are suffering in the hands of insurers and Kenya Power and other sagas. And I want to make an undertaking to this House. If this particular claim is not paid, Then we will make recommendations that are carried in this house, that some of these payments for insurance for this particular, to cover this kind of issues, are no longer have any meaning because
Honorable Member for Mwala, don't preempt your investigations.
I just wanted to give the member confidence, but 1 month?
Yeah, don't preempt.
Yes.
Honorable Makali.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this family has been waiting for 7 years. It will not cost us nothing to wait for 1 month, so long as we get to the final conclusion of this matter.
Well,
so 1 month is okay with us.
Honorable Member for Mwala, 1 month. The next statement is to the member for Loima. Is he in the house? Protus, is he in the house? If the member is not in the house, then the statement will be tabled, not read, so that we make progress. Chair for Energy, table the statement for Honorable Protus. Member for Lunga, Honorable Chiforomondo, are you in the house? This will be done by the Chair Labour, the response.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And this is a response to a request for a statement by the Honorable Chiforomondo Mangale, MP Lunga constituency, regarding the gazettement of Lunga sub-county as a hardship area. Honorable Speaker, I thank you for this chance, and the Honorable Member sought a response to the following issues. 1, the measures put in place by the Ministry of Public Service and Human Capital Development to ensure the gazettement of Lunga sub-county as a hardship area and provide details on timelines to be taken for gazettement of the area. 2, the reasons why there has been delay in implementation of the recommendation of the inter-agency committee that Lunga sub-county be gazetted as a hardship area. And 3, a report on the progress, if any, by the ministry to implement the proposal for gazettement of the area. 1, Honorable Speaker, prior to 1997, the civil and teaching service and similar designated hardship areas, which included the former Northeastern Province, including Wajir, Madera, Garissa, Samburu, Isiolo, Lamu, Marsabit, Tana River, West Pokot, Turkana, and northern area of Baringo. This comprised of 11 fairly distinct hardship areas. Designation of such areas was undertaken in consultation with the Office of the President, the Directorate of Personnel Management and Provincial Administration and Internal Security. In 1997, the Minister for Education, through legal notice number 534 of 11th November 1997, gazetted an additional 25 hardship areas for the teaching service, following a recommendation by the Teacher Service Remuneration Committee. And in 2005, the number of designated hardship areas for the teaching service was increased from 36 to the current 44, as indicated in the appendix that is attached here, and that I will share, and I believe he has or he should have. Then currently, the civil service, the national and the county government has 16 designated hardship areas as shown in a document that is attached to the one that I have, while the judiciary has 21 areas designated as hardship areas based on location of the law courts shown in another document that is attached with me here. Honorable Speaker, the government through the ministry responsible for public service, taking cognizance of the existing disparities in designated hardship areas in the public service, continued an interagency technical committee in the month of March 2019. The committee comprised of representatives from the Ministry of Public Service, Gender, Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government, Ministry of Education, the National Treasury and Planning, Public Service Commission, Teacher Service Commission, Commission on Revenue Allocation, Salaries and Remuneration Commission, SRC, Council of Governors, and the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. Honorable Speaker, the Interagency Technical Committee undertook countrywide field visits and surveys and prepared a report for cabinet approval and gazettement. Then, Honorable Speaker, the Lunga sub-county is currently not designated as a hardship area for purpose of payment of hardship allowance. Lunga sub-county was visited by the Interagency Technical Committee during the data collection exercise and will be assessed against the criteria set by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics to guide the determination and the categorization of hardship areas as shown in Appendix 2 of the ministry response. Now, Honorable Speaker, on the response to the second question, which was the reasons why there has been delay in the implementation of the recommendation, the gazettement of the hardship area and the implementation of the designated hardship areas will be undertaken upon approval by the cabinet. So that is yet to be approved. Then on the third and the last question, which was on the report on the progress, if any, the interagency team finalized the study and submitted a report to the ministry responsible for public service. The report was submitted to the National Treasury, which advised that the approval of the proposed hardship allowance be sought from the Salaries and the Remuneration Commission. The SRC reviewed and approved the new rates for hardship allowance based on the new categorization of the moderate and extreme hardship areas, which will be applicable across the entire public service prior to implementation of the new rates and subsequent approval by the cabinet. So, Honorable Speaker, with me, I have the hard copy of the response, and this is what we gathered from the Ministry of Public Service. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Member for Lunga.
Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the chair for the response. But, Honorable Speaker, it is disheartening that at this era and time, the ministry is still responding to such a serious issue, which, to me, since the independence of this country, Lunga has been there. And they have alluded that in 2019, they formed an interagency team which also visited Lunga. 2019 to date, Madam Speaker, is a very long time. And I want to say that the teachers of Lunga and the public servants who serve the people of Lunga are in dire need of this allowance. Today, those teachers who are teaching in Mkwiro and Wasin Islands, they do struggle to assess their working stations. As we speak, the areas of Magombani, the areas of Mtsunga, Mwakalanga, the areas of Kwanyanje, they are inaccessible because there are elephants there. The area is dry, and so many other issues which affect the teachers of those areas, of Lunga at large. I want to say, Madam Speaker, that we needed a much more practical response than this one. Of course, we anticipated and expected that the ministry would tell us when they are going to gazette Lunga sub-county as a hardship area. Because one, we've been here in this house that we discuss or we pass an issue, and then the same day or the next day, it is being gazetted. What makes it very hard for the gazettement of Lunga to be a hardship area? What is so hard?
That is your clarification. Don't debate more than that.
I'm not debating, Madam Speaker, but we are not getting what we deserve as Lunga people.
I hear you. There is a point of order from member for Buri.
Madam Speaker, I know sometimes this year this matter of hardship came up, and the Speaker ruled that it is a motion, because almost every constituency and raised the same issue on hardship. And I'm sure, Madam Speaker, your memory is correct, because I've seen you agreement by the fact that you have nodded your head. Madam Speaker, this report is substandard because it does not give out where they went, when, who they spoke to, because we expect to see them in Ibori, which borders like Kipia and Isiolo, and we share the same geographical conditions. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, this report to me is substandard, and to need to begin that report so that we can know where the interagency committee did. And I want to ask you that what the Speaker, the direction the Speaker gave, it is implemented so that we can all contribute on this.
Thank you. The reason I'm nodding my head, member for Buri, is because I know this issue too well, because it was raised even for Gilgil this term, last term. So I've seen it over and over. I'll give member for Kaloleni first. Member for Kaloleni.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also raised a similar question in March, and the Speaker gave directions that the leader of majority was supposed to consult with the ministry so that they could give a comprehensive report on how some constituencies were left out, yet they are supposed to be included in the gazetted as a hardship areas. So Kaloleni was one of them. Maybe, Speaker, you could give direction to, or direct the leader of majority to tell us how far has he gone with the direction which was given by the Speaker, so that this matter can be concluded, because almost all constituencies across the country are suffering. So they should be also included as hardship areas, so that our teachers, our civil servants who are working in these areas can be given hardship allowances. Thank you.
The leader of majority, Honorable Mbaya, I hope you are listening, because this issue, every time the question comes, it becomes a cross-cutting issue from all the constituency or majority of the constituencies. So I would be hoping that you have that report as guided by the Speaker, but on this one was specific to Lunga Lunga. It is only now spilling out to other constituencies. I'll give member for Endebess, then member for Jomvu.
Madam Speaker, thank you. And I want to thank the Honorable Jifaramondo, member for Lunga Lunga, for raising this matter. Honorable Speaker, I think year in, year out, we've actually been raising this. And as you are aware, Endebess constituency borders West Pokot, which is a hardship area. Then you wonder, somebody who is working in Endebess is not qualified to get hardship area allowance, just the same as somebody who is in West Pokot or Kapenguria constituency, my neighbor, Honorable Moroto. So I had a proposal, Honorable Speaker, that if the member for Runyenjes, not Runyenjes, or Runyenjes, yes, the Honorable Karemba, the chair for Labour, if he could be able to maybe have a way of how all the other constituencies can be captured. And then he does a follow-up for gazettement of, because it's just a question of gazettement. Once they are gazetted, then we can have the ministry implement it. Because even if we ask the leader of majority, it is easier for Honorable Kalemba to follow it up and have our constituencies gazetted. No, it's not a wrong approach, my friend. You know, Rindigiri, protect me, Madam Speaker, from...
Address the chair.
Protect me from Honorable Rindigiri.
Address the Speaker.
You know, since Honorable Rindigiri got the deputy presidency, now imagines himself that he can give orders. You know, you have to be humble, Honorable Rindigiri. You have to be humble. I was asking Honorable Speaker if Honorable Karemba can have our constituency so that it is captured and gazetted, so that we can have it followed to be implemented. Because we'll always be crying and making this request, and yet nothing happens. That is my appeal, Honorable Speaker.
Member for Jomvu.
Mheshimiwa Spika, nasimama kuunga mkono kwa hoja hii specifically kwa Lungalunga. Kusema kwa Lungalunga najua, na Mheshimiwa Spika, Mheshimiwa Owen Baya, kiongozi wetu afanye bidii kuona kuwa area zote ambazo zimetajwa ziweze kuwa specified kama hardship areas. Unaona kama Mombasa kuna sehemu zina shida kubwa sana, lakini watu wakiangalia mahoteli, watu wakiangalia vile hali ilivyo, wanaona Mombasa ni mahali kwa starehe na hali watu maisha ni ngumu. Tujumuishwe kama hardship areas ama sehemu ambazo zina hali ngumu, na sisi tupate manufaa kama Jomvu. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
Asante sana mbunge wa kuteuliwa Dorothy Muthoni.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the matter at hand is a very emotive issue because it has been canvassed in this House for the longest time. Honorable Speaker, I thank the MP for Ungarunga for bringing up this matter, but this is a matter that touches on almost all the constituencies which are hardship areas. Honorable Speaker, the Teachers Service Commission, especially in the matter of teachers, has for a long time been not able to resolve this issue. And this is why some areas are seriously understaffed, Honorable Speaker, because the neighboring constituency is a hardship area and the neighboring school is not a hardship area. Honorable Speaker, I wish that this matter is time-bound so that we don't canvass this matter in this House again. Honorable Speaker, let the committee and the chair seated here, the chair Reba, it is unfair labor practices when some people enjoy a facility that is given by the government and other people in the neighboring deserving constituencies don't get the same treatment. Honorable Speaker, rule on this matter. Thank you, Honorable Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, we have canvassed on this issue not once, not just in this term, even last term, those who are there, even the other term. So I'll give the leader of majority on this one. Honorable Owen Baya, because it had been directed by the Speaker that there was to be a team to undertake that exercise. You give and update the House. Okay. How far has that gone? When is the report expected, and when is the action expected?
Okay, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I know this is a very emotive, cross-cutting issue, and it is an issue that affects many people, because even when people talk about hardship areas, there's also the new element that has come in, municipalities, enhanced house allowances for municipalities. So it is an area that cuts across the whole country. And it is important, Honorable Speaker, that we get a comprehensive statement from the Minister in charge of public service. I think there has been consultation with former Speaker Justin Muturi to ensure that this matter is comprehensively done. So what I would like to request Parliament is that we be patient as I ask how soon the Minister will avail that statement to the House, a statement which is in the works. Honorable Speaker, I would like to beg the indulgence of members and yourself on this matter. I thank you.
This issue has been pending, Honorable Maya. It would be very unprofessional to not put a timeline to it, because it is urgent and it is important. So could you do that before we break for recess in the next 2 weeks?
We will do it before recess.
In the next 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Member for Lungalunga, is it different?
Madam Speaker, the issue here is about the report to be taken to the President Cabinet and then gazettement. So it's not about us being brought statements and all that. It needs to be approved by the Cabinet and also be gazetted. And it will be done because the report is already there as per the explanation from the chair. Thank you.
Chair for Labour, Honorable Karemba.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And I think it's good to separate issues, Honorable Speaker, because as per the request by the Honorable Member for Lungalunga, The report is already there. It is for that report to be taken to the cabinet, as he is saying. But with regard to the other report, I think you've pronounced yourself on that matter, and it's now upon the leader of majority to do as you have directed. But I wish to say to Honorable Speaker that I register their disappointments by the Honorable members, and I agree totally with the Honorable members who believe that that is an unfair labor practice where people are enjoying facilities and privileges because of working in a hardship area while others are not enjoying. So honorable members should expect that the committee will also register your disappointments with the ministry for action, and we believe that it should not take long because, again, from 2019, that's a long duration. Things should have happened. We want to be in a country where things move without unnecessary delays. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
We shall make progress, members. We have the commitment from the leader of majority and the commitment from the chair Labour Committee. So we'll go to the next statement by Honorable Joshua Kandie, still by the member for Labour, by the chair for Labour Committee.
Honorable Speaker, there is a pressing issue here, but I think he will execute it some other time. So, Honorable Speaker, the other statement is a response to a request for a statement by the Honorable Joshua Kandie, member from Baringo Central constituency, regarding the regulation of labor migration through private recruitment agencies. Honorable Speaker, the questions were, the statement is based on the questions that were asked, and one question was, what are the roles of the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection in registration and regulation of private recruitment agencies involved in labor migration? And then the second question was, how does the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection work with the State Department for Diaspora Affairs in regulating labor migration sector while ensuring that the State Department does not encroach on the roles of the ministry? And 2 and 3, why and how do private recruitment agencies banned by the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection continue to recruit migrant workers? Honorable Speaker, the registration and regulation of private recruitment agencies is done in accordance with the Labor Institutions Act of 2007 and Private Employment Agencies Regulation of 2016. Section 54A of the Article Act provides for the establishment of the Interministerial Committee consisting of officers from 1, the Ministry responsible for Immigration, the Ministry responsible for Labor, the Ministry responsible for Internal Security, the Attorney General, and the Ministry responsible for Foreign Affairs. The officer from the Ministry responsible for Labor shall be the chairperson of the Interministerial Committee. And then Section 54B provides for the functions of the Interministerial Committee. And the Interministerial Committee is responsible for the following: 1, advising the CS responsible for labor on matters related to work permits, security, and related issues. Then 2, vetting the applications for registration made by the employment bureaus and agencies. Honorable Speaker, in addition to Section 54, provides for the recruitment for approval by the Interministerial Committee. And every employment bureau or agency shall be required to seek and obtain government approval prior to sending Kenyan citizens for employment outside Kenya and for employment of foreigners within Kenya. The applications for registration made are vetted by the Interministerial Committee established under Section 54A. The National Employment Authority is a state agency under the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection that is mandated to register and regulate private employment agencies in accordance with Section 54A to Section 60 of the Labor Institutions Act of 2007. The authority is the secretariat to the vetting committee. Honorable Speaker, the authority is also mandated to do the following in accordance with the National Employment Authority Act of 2016. 1. Advise on formulation of employment policies and strategies for national and county governments. 2. Facilitate the employment and placement of job seekers locally and internationally. 3. Facilitate the implementation of national policies on employment. 4. Collection, analysis, and dissemination of labor market information. 5. Building the capacities of private employment agencies. 6. Sensitizing job seekers. 7. Handling complaints from job seekers. Then 8. Promoting ethical recruitment. And 9. Cancellation or revocation of license of an employment agency that fails to observe the provisions of the existing laws and regulations. On the second question, which was on how the Ministry of Labor works together with the State Department for Diaspora Affairs while ensuring that the State Department does not encroach on the roles of the Labor Ministry. Then the response is as following. The Ministry of Labor and Social Protection ensures that the procedures for labor migration are carried out in orderly and safe manner, and at the same time ensuring that migrant workers undergo pre-departure training and orientation. The ministry collaborates with the Directorate of Diaspora Affairs and the State Department of Diaspora Affairs in ensuring that migrant workers in distress are repatriated back to the country. In cases involving deaths or migrant workers, similar coordination is needed to assist bereaved families bring home bodies of their loved ones. Then, question 3 on why and how private recruitment agencies banned by the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection continue to recruit migrant workers. The National Employment Authority carries out impromptu inspections to ensure that recruitment agencies adhere to the laws and regulations governing their operations. Then recruitment agencies whose licenses are cancelled or suspended or blacklisted are not supposed to recruit migrant workers. All reported cases are dealt with in accordance with the law. The National Employment Authority also periodically publishes in the national dailies all private employment agencies that have been blacklisted and their operational licenses revoked. Honorable Speaker, most importantly, Kenyans are also advised to regularly visit the National Employment Authority website, www.neamis.go.ke, to ensure or to assess the list of registered private employment agencies and their current status. And I have attached, or rather, a statement or rather, the same document or response has been relayed to the Honorable Joshua Kadie. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Chair. Member for Baringo Central.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The only problem I have with this statement is that I happen to be among the delegates which went for the signing agreement with the German government the other in September, but I met some recruiting agencies which have been banned, dining with mighty people in Germany. So this statement is in theory, but in practice we still continue seeing these banned recruitment agencies doing the business. So how will the ministry help us to make sure that our Kenyans are not exploited by these agencies?
Chair.
Thank you. While I consider the sentiments by the Honourable Member very, very, very important, I would appreciate if there is any supplementary information from the Honourable Member, now that he alleges that he was in Germany and he was in company with some recruitment agencies that have been banned or their license revoked. I would appreciate, as the Chair Committee on Labour, if more information was relayed to our committee for further action, because again, we have a duty and responsibility, Honorable Speaker, to protect the jobless Kenyans from being exploited by these recruitment agencies, because it has been happening for a long time, and it is time that this stopped and stops once and for all. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
I think, Honorable Chair, what Honorable Kandie is saying is that we are very good with theories on paper, but in practice we are not implementing. So I hope that this can be a continuous process. But Honorable Kandie, you also have a responsibility, if you have more information, to supply to the relevant committee to assist them in their work. I think any member can do that, and I think that will be settled at that point. The next one, before we go to Honorable Wanami Wamboka, member for, there's a point of order from Honorable Yusuf Hassan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity. I wanted to speak on a terrible disaster that has taken place in my neighborhood. Today is indeed a very dark day in Kamkunji. Last night, we had a devastating fire in Kitui village in Pumwani ward in Kamukunji, where at least 7 people were killed and scores of people were seriously injured. And I speak, several people are missing, including children, and therefore this death toll would go up. And I want to say that this is the deadliest fire incident we've had in Kamkunji. And therefore, I'm calling upon the county and the national government to take immediate steps to assist the victims of this particular fire and to address some of the underlying problems, the lack of access to the neighborhood, the lack of a fire station nearby, which could have saved some of the lives, and also to support those affected and have been left homeless. My office is going to do whatever is necessary to help them, but at least we need an urgent action on some of the fires that we've had in Nairobi. This is not the first one. We've had 3 or 4 fires within this week in many parts of Nairobi, but this has been the one with the highest number of victims. And therefore, I'm calling upon the authorities to look at this issue and to see how we can mitigate to ensure that, in fact, our citizens don't just perish helplessly and mindlessly in this kind of fire incidents.
Thank you.
And I want to send, Madam Speaker, my deep condolences to the families who have lost people, friends, and the neighbors of the people of Kitui Village and Pumwani Ward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Member for Kamkunji. And on my behalf and that of the House, we also offer our condolences. I know Honorable Member for Nairobi had also spoken to the Speaker about it. I'll give you 2 minutes to offer your condolences, and I'll close it at that point.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, let me start by saying that we are saddened that we keep having fires in Nairobi and we keep losing lives. A few months ago, we lost a mother lost 3 of her children. Today, we have a father who's died with 3 children. We have a mother who's died with 1 child, and we've got a man whose body has been burned beyond recognition. In fact, all the bodies are burned beyond recognition. It's really disheartening that we don't have access roads, and this is why I say to Kenyans, when His Excellency the President is fighting for us to have better housing, it means that this will resolve the problem of access. We don't have access to most of the informal settlements. And I also reiterate what the Honorable Member for Kamkunji has said. We've been expecting a fire engine to be put in Gikomba. It hasn't been done yet. And I know that there's always pressing needs for the budget, but we need a fire station in Gikomba because that's an area that's prone for fires as well. So I offer condolences on my behalf for the members that have lost, and I hope that we will eliminate slums in our city so that we can be able to have everybody live in dignity and everybody have access to fires when they have disasters. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. We will now go to Honorable Wanami Wamboka to request a statement. Honorable Wamboka, you had actually been called earlier. You should be... apologizing first for coming late.
Honorable Speaker, you know I'm always very committed to the business of this House. I was with the delegation from South Sudan, the chairman of PAC and his team, and I'm very sorry to have delayed. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44-2C, I wish to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Labor regarding the status of implementation of the court order on recruitment of officers by the Kenya Revenue Authority. Honorable Speaker, in June 2023, the Kenya Revenue Authority recruited 1,406 revenue service assistants with an aim of increasing their workforce to enhance revenue collection efforts. However, in March 2024, the High Court in Nairobi declared the recruitment unconstitutional, citing failure by the KRA to uphold diversity and regional balance. The court held that the recruitment was in contravention of the Constitution. Notably, the Kenya Revenue Authority has allegedly retained the said officers against the court order and against the wishes of this House, Honorable Speaker. The Kenya Revenue Authority was also to institute an ethnic diversity and regional balance policy. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Labor on the following. 1. Provision of status report on the implementation of the court order issued declaring the recruitment of 1,406 revenue assistants by the Kenya Revenue Authority unconstitutional, and 2, steps to be taken to reverse the salary processed to the 1,406 recruited officers after the judgment, if any, and 3, status of implementation of ethnicity, ethnic diversity and regional balance policy. I thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, may I proceed or you pronounce yourself?
There is no further proceedings. You have requested the statement. It will then be committed to the Committee of Labor immediately. Honorable Wamboka, you have made a request for a statement on the status. I have committed it to the Committee of Labor. The leader of majority, kindly note, I don't see the chair, he has stepped out, or the vice chair. Ensure that the chair is well aware to bring a response in the next 2 weeks. Honorable Wamboka, what is out of order?
Honorable Speaker, on about 3 months ago, I raised a statement with regard, I asked for a statement from Chairman of Defense Committee with regard to recruitment in Bumula constituency. And that debate was so heated in this House because more members were affected and therefore more constituencies. The chairman brought a response which was not adequate, not befitting to the standards of this House. It was not satisfactory. The Speaker ordered that upon resumption from recess, short recess, in less than 2 weeks, he brings back a good statement in the definition of a statement that is admissible and satisfactory to this House. To date, Honorable Speaker, it has not happened. The chairman is quiet. The ministry is quiet. Nothing is happening. Honorable Speaker, I want to know what's happening because this House must be respected. This is the National Assembly of the Republic of Kenya. Is the Minister for Defense too powerful that, they can ignore what this House directs them to do? Is the chairman defense committee untouchable to extend that he can do what he wishes and not subscribe to the tenets of this House? Honorable Speaker, I would beg that you give your guidance and directions to this effect. Thank you.
You have made your point, and rightfully so, because I've been briefed that issue was canvassed, Leader of Majority. That issue was canvassed, and the response was to come in the first 2 weeks after resumption. So I will direct that you ensure that the chair brings the response in the next 1 week on the issue raised by Honorable Wamboka. Finally, to close on this order is Chair Committee of Health on matter shift.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to give a statement on registration of persons at the constituency and the county office level for the rollout of the nationwide universal health coverage by Social Health Authority. Honorable Speaker, the Ministry and the Social Health Authority has from 1st of October 2024 started rolling out the SHA healthcare services and the benefits under the three funds, that is the Primary Healthcare Fund, Social Health Insurance Fund, and the Emergency Chronic and Critical Illness Fund established under the Social Health Insurance Act number 16 of 2023 that was enacted by this House almost a year ago. This act is currently being operationalized by the government. Access to SHA health services and the benefits being offered by SHA. As the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Health, I rise to give a statement concerning the registration of Kenyans at constituency level. Honorable Speaker, members of the Departmental Committee on Health have raised concerns on the slow registration of Kenyans. In response to these concerns, the Ministry of Health was invited to clarify the slow process of registration of Kenyans. The Ministry of Health and the Social Health Authority, in the meeting held in the committee room on Thursday, 7th November 2024, highlighted its preparedness on the rollout of the access to Social Health Authority benefits. The SHA system had registered approximately 14,868,178 Kenyans as of yesterday, Tuesday, 19 November 2024. I wish to inform this August House that the Ministry has since deployed technical officers from Social Health Authority and Digital Health Agency to support in the registration of exercise as per the attached annex, which I have the annex attached here, and I'll be able to table it so that members can look at their constituencies and who are the staff from both the Digital Health Agency and the Social Health Authority. The purpose of this statement, therefore, Honorable Speaker, is to request the honorable members to support Social Health Authority rollout in their respective constituencies and counties for the county women by linking up with the officers listed in the respective regions and counties and contracts provided. In conclusion, Honorable Speaker, the registration of Kenyans, if implemented by the Ministry of Health in the manner that the latter explained to the committee, would contribute significantly to the digitization and modernization of Kenya's healthcare system, ensuring accessible, affordable, and high-quality care for all Kenyans as envisioned in the Kenya Health Policy 2014-2030 and the Kenya Universal Health Coverage Policy 2020 to 2030. Honorable Speaker, the challenge that many Kenyans face is because they want to register at the time when they are getting services. But we are requesting many Kenyans that they should register early enough so that when you go to get services in the hospital, you're already a registered member. You should not be struggling to register. And as per yesterday, we agreed with the Social Health Authority that they should contract all level 4s for outpatient services so that primary health care can be offered at level 2, level 3, and level 4. So that all level 4 facilities should be able to provide primary health care and people can walk in and walk out and get the services in which they are going to be provided. And the method for payment will be through capitation. And we want to ask Kenyans for patience so that, and also timely registration so that they can be able to access services without any difficulties. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I want to table this and ask members that they can go to the table office, look at their constituencies, and get in contact and get in touch with the Digital Health Agency and the SHA Authority officers who are responsible for registration in your area, so that people can be able to be registered. They can also assist us in identifying who are the indigents, so that the indigents can benefit from government support through being registered and being having access to services. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Rendikiri.
I want to thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. And I want to really appreciate the focus of our chairman of Health Committee. However, Mr. Speaker, there are some clarifications that the Kenyans need to be told. On the matter of registration, there are new registrations. The people have never been with the NHIF. And they are old card holders of NHIF. That matter needs to be clarified, because what is happening now, particularly in the old card holders, they appear in hospital, the outpatient is working, the inpatient is not working, and vice versa. Mr. Speaker, what I thought the chairman could also come out very clear is to tell us exactly what are the causes of these delays. Is it a system failure? Is it a human-created failure? Or is it a natural law? Because it is very funny. The government is doing whatever it can. I believe there is something wrong at NHIF or SHA, whatever it is. Mr. Speaker, it's something that the committee need to investigate to find who is causing this delay. Because surely, when I use my ID and my old card number, I am not able to access. We have been blaming Kenyans for not having digital phones. But at my constituency level, Mr. Speaker, Board constituency, I assigned my staff to go around asking people who are not registered to register. But when you try to access that system, it is a nightmare, Mr. Speaker. So we need to know exactly what is the cause of this delay. Is it an intentional delay? Or is it a sabotage? What it is? Because this scheme is the best. But now if Kenyans are not able to access the services, we can't be sitting here every day.
Make your point. You've already asked a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a month gone. The numbers are not that big. And we must tell the Kenyans that people think that the government is not working. The government is working. But something is not right at the headquarters. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
MP for Baringo South.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. I also want to register the challenges that is facing this exercise of registration, that there is a lot of confusions, and we don't know the source, or rather the cause. We want the ministry specifically and the officers of SHA to be very clear on this, because people who are sick, as they go for those services, some of them have registered, but they are told there is no specific number, reference number, because the numbers they are using is the holding numbers of NHIF. So it's like there is somebody somehow in the systems who is not honest, because registration is doing well, and Kenyans have accepted, and the exercises of registration is all going on well. But the services, Kenyans want to see these services. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Badibadi, I see your name on the screen. Did Do you have an issue here or it's an old one?
It was an old one. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. But I wanted to converse on the old one.
Okay, fair
Yes.
enough. Honorable Member, at the end there.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. I would want to ask the chair to clarify, Mr. Speaker, on the role of county health promoters on sensitization of sheep, Mr. Speaker. The last time I checked, Mr. Speaker, the remuneration of county health promoters was undertaken by both county government and national government, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there is a lot of complaints at the mashinani level that people are not able to understand or to differentiate between chief and SHA. And they are not able to understand what chief stand for or what chief will undertake. I would want the chair to clarify the role of county health promoters on sensitization of chief, whether they are going around the country explaining to the people what chief means and what chief will do to them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I think I take a very last one. We have other businesses to transact, and so this question, you'll be the last one to ask a question.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika. Yangu ni ule utaratibu ambao unahitajika kwa wale ambao walikuwa wamejiandikisha katika ule mfumo uliopita wa NHF na sasa na huu mfumo mpya. Tunafahamu kwamba hata sisi kama wabunge tulikuwa tumechukua majukumu kupitia mfumo wetu ule mfuko wa NGCDF kuandikisha baadhi ya wale ambao wanahitaji usaidizi. Na walioandikishwa wakati ule ilikuwa ni wale watu ambao hawajiwezi, ni wazee, ni wakongwe, ni mayatima, hawana namna yoyote. Na katika huu taratibu ulioko ni kwamba inabidi waweze kusafiri kwenda vituoni na kujisajilisha upya. Ilikuwa niombi kwa mwenyekiti wa kamati husika kama ataweza kufanya utaratibu wa kuwatembelea wale ambao hawajiwezi, hasa ambao ni ukweli ndio wanahitaji huu usaidizi, kuona ni vipi wataweza kuhamishwa, kwa sababu wengi wao bado wako katika ule mfumo wa zamani ambao kama wenzangu walivyotanguliza ni kwamba wakiwa na dharura na kwenda hospitali hawapati matibabu yoyote. Kuna utaratibu gani ambao anaweza kufanya wa dharura ili wale ambao hawezi kwenda kwa vile vituo waweze kusajiliwa ili waweze kunufaika na hili? Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
Chair, please. Among the things you just been mentioned by, which you should take note of.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
For the benefit of the members.
Yes.
Some members, of course, and even the wider public.
Yes.
Explain also what's the difference between the chief and the SHA.
Yes, I wanted to begin from there.
One manages the other, but you have to really bring it out here.
Honorable Speaker, the authority is called SHA, Social Health Authority. Social Health Authority manages three funds.
Yes.
The Social Health Insurance Fund, which covers for your health at level 4, 5, and 6. It also manages Primary Health Care Fund, which covers for your health in level 2, 3, and 4 outpatient. For 4 is outpatient services. And then it also manages Emergency, Critical, and Chronic Illness Fund. If you are using your Social Health Insurance Fund and you exhaust it, you have a chronic illness, you are diabetic, you have a renal disease, you're on dialysis.
You still get the services.
You still get services, but now the services will be, you will be utilizing a different fund because you've exhausted your Social Health Insurance Fund.
Okay.
So it is managing those three funds. The Honorable Wamumbi talked about county health promoters. It is not county health promoters. It's community health promoters. Community health promoters are at the primary health care level. This is a network that each community health promoter is in charge of 100 households. And in these households is able to at least identify the illnesses that these people are having. You can be able to make diagnosis of this is a diabetic, this is hypertensive, and refer you to the health facility so that you can get proper treatment. And the role of county governments in community health promoters is that they are the ones, the county governments are the ones who recruit them. They also co-share the payment, where the national government gives 50% and the county government gives 50%, so that these community health promoters at least have something to take care of themselves. Initially, they were not being given anything, but now they are given a small stipend of 5,000, and it is paid by both national government and county government. And then the national government also has a responsibility to train them, because you remember, I think this morning we've just passed a community health workers bill by Honorable Member for Ward Chief. That bill now will be able to provide for training, registration, and how these community health workers can be managed. My colleague Honorable Mugambi and Honorable Kamuren raised about the issue of registration. My appeal here is that that we want all these people to be registered. Everybody, all the 54 million Kenyans must be registered, so that when the government is allocating funds for primary health care fund, for level 2 and level 3 and outpatient, so that through capitation, you can be able to access all those services. Every Kenyan has a right to access them without paying anything for level 2, level 3, and level 4 outpatient. For emergency, critical, and chronic illness, when you are involved in an accident, you have an emergency, you are involved in any emergency situation, the government, this House, has appropriated 2 billion to that fund, and it will continue appropriating more money, so that when you have a chronic illness, you have a critical illness, you have an emergency, you don't have to pay. You'll be admitted to any hospital, and that fund will be able to take care of you. And you remember the head of state said people have been selling their shambas to treat their patients. So we want to move away from that, so that you can be able to be, if you have a kidney disease, you can be able to be either dialyzed or you can even get transplant for the kidney. Both you and the donor will be taken care of, both pre-implant and post-implantation. You can also be taken care of. So this is the services that you'll be able to access without paying anything. But for S-Chief, you have to contribute. For those who have pay slips, we are contributing 2.75%. Then for others, they'll do what we call proxy mean testing. My colleague here has asked me, what are indigents? Indigents are those who are not able to pay. You have constituents who are not able to pay, whom the government was initially allocating money through this House to pay for them. But now you have those indigents who are supposed to access services. You've asked about, you have elderly people within your communities. You have sick people who are within your communities, whom needs to be registered. We are appealing to you that at your constituency offices, we will send officers. The list is attached here. Under the Digital Health Agency and the Social Health Authority, they are officers. We've given their contacts, we've given their names. You can get in touch with them. They come and assist you to have those people registered, and they'll carry out the proximity testing, so that the indigents, the very poor of the community, can be identified and can be put into the program where the government can pay for them through this House, appropriating funds to the indigents, and they can be supported so that they can access all the health services without having any challenges, without them paying for it, but the government will be able to pay for it. So it is upon you now as honorable members to assist, to have these people, to have everybody registered, and the issue about challenges of people being registered, we are sending officers there to assist. And if you are in NHIF, you should not worry, because you must be transitioned to Social Health Authority without any challenges. And you should not be able to miss any service that you are in NHIF, now you are in Social Health Authority. You can still access services. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yeah, honorable members, I think this was a statement which was sought, and we have given it a sufficient ventilation. Wednesday morning is for private members' motions. This is, order, honorable members, order. I will give one, and you take 1 minute also. Even under the standing order number 40, standing order number 41 is express. It says, even the chair who is making the statement cannot take more than 3 minutes without the leave of the chair. But the chair has been too generous. Now, you ask one question in half a minute and let him take 1 minute also.
We want the chair to tell us who will meet the cost of those officers, where they are. He has given us the contact. So we want to know who will meet the costs and where they are located.
Okay, fair enough. And then ask one more question also there. Now, answer
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank
Thank you. The chair did not answer my question. My question was, what is the role of community health promoters on sensitization? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair, proceed and answer that. Cameron, you've already asked.
The Digital Health Agency and the Social Health Authority staff are staff who are on payroll. They are being paid for. You don't have to pay anything as a member.
What's
you are
their
not
role?
going to
What's
meet
their
the next.
role?
Their role is, no, I'm talking about those who are assisting in registering.
Yes.
Then the role of the community health promoters in sensitization. They'll be able, in the gadgets which they have, they can assist also in registration. And they can also assist in educating what services you can be able to access at the primary level, at level 1, level 2, and level 3.
Fair enough. Next order.
Order number 9, motion number 6 of 2024, comprehensive reform of education bursary schemes to ensure free basic education in Kenya.
Yes, the Honorable Martin Owino? No? Yes? Just a second. That was the committee here. This is Esther Passaris, yeah? Esther Passaris.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity.
This has been concluded, this debate.
Yes, it has been concluded.
It's your turn now to reply.
Yes.
Okay, proceed.
Before I respond, because we were on Shah, and of course I have some concerns, and you hadn't seen me make the intervention. On Shif and Shah, I mean, it's going to be an amazing thing, right? I mean, because the haves will be paying for the have-nots. But the problem I'm having is when you say that outpatient will also be catered for 2, 3, and 4, I hope that in that outpatient there will be drugs available especially recurring drugs, because diabetes you need drugs, and that's number one. Number two, also when you say you're going to have free surgeries if you have an accident, I hope that implants will be available in hospitals stocked for the surgeries, because a lot of patients
Honorable, order. You got a small window in which the chair wanted to look the other side, but you've expanded it.
Thank you.
That business is concluded. Proceed and, as a mover, reply to the motion.
Thank you. Honorable Speaker, I beg to reply on the motion on comprehensive reforms on education bursary schemes to ensure free basic education in Kenya. Honorable Speaker, I listened to my colleagues, some who supported and some who opposed. I cannot understand for the life of me why any member of parliament, representative of the people, would not want free education, secondary education for their constituents. They know that parents are struggling. They know that even if they have their constituents come to their offices, pick up forms, fill those forms, take them back, it is so undignified to make a parent have to leave their job and actually search for a form to be able to fill it, to be able to get the bursary after a few months. And when they get the bursary, fine, we spread it across the constituents because we look at it in terms of votes. We cannot look at education in terms of votes. Education is a constitutional right under Article 43(1) and 53(1). So for those who oppose free secondary education, just because you want to hand out a check of 5,000 or 10,000 or 3,000 if you want to reach many people, at the end of the day, you're not helping that student. That student is not going to be studying because that student will be sent home so many times. Even when the Ministry of Education gives capitation, the student is still sent home. We say that we have free day school, but while we have free day school, a number of students cannot afford the books are not readily available, the students cannot afford uniforms, so they don't even attend school. We need to understand that free compulsory basic education means free education. That means a student walks into school, gets books, gets a uniform, gets all the facilities that they need to be able to get that education. We are actually not doing justice to us, to our citizens when we cannot give the basic education. When Moi Kibaki in 2003, in December he was elected into office, in 2003, when he made the statement, free primary education. He didn't ask himself, where's the money going to come from? He didn't ask himself, can the ministry do it? Can parliamentarians do it? He said, I want free primary education. And what? It happened. It happened because when you make a decision to provide something for your constituents, you then find the money. And I know we have a struggle with finding money. The Ministry of Education gets an average of about 650 billion. And for secondary education, it's an average of 10% of that budget. Now, when I look at the Ministry of Education, to provide free secondary education with all the amenities that are required with it, they will need at least 1 trillion or 1.2 trillion to be able to provide it effectively and efficiently. But the problem is, where will we get that money? Of course, our president is determined to ensure that we get debt-free, so that we save the interest that we're paying, which is 1 trillion, to be able to use it for other things. And one of the things that we have to use it on is a constitutional right, the constitutional right for education, for shelter, for food. You know, those are the things that we as representatives of the people should be fighting for. When I look at, first of all, I want to thank Mark Nyamita, Honorable Mark Nyamita. He stood up and seconded the motion. And he said, education is a fundamental right. He also said it's a moral obligation for every child in Kenya to access free compulsory education. Do you know why we have so many criminals right now? Do you know why we have so many children taking drugs? Do you know why we have so much suicide? Because children don't have something to do with their time. When we say it's free and it's compulsory, no child will be loitering on the streets. They will be in classrooms. Okay, we don't have classrooms, I understand. But then when the MPs have got money to build classrooms, and MP takes for CDF, and he's a patron, I understand, but for CDF allocated to an MP, we're talking about 600-700 million shillings per, in the term that they're going to be in office. Almost, it's about 150 million. That money can be put to actually building schools. Building schools. We need more schools.
Yeah, what's the point of order, Honorable?
We need more schools.
Order, Honorable Pasaris.
Honorable Speaker, I stand on a point of order. The mover of the motion and in her reply has a duty to be factual. Is it in order for the Honorable Member for Nairobi County to mislead the House and the public that CDF is money that is given to members of Parliament? That is not true. Has this Member of Parliament read the current CDF Act? This is why we have bastardized CDF by giving the impression to the public that is money that belongs to the MP. This is a house of record. That information must be expunged from the record of this house.
What the honorable member, in my opinion, means is that there is that amount of money set aside in every constituency. Order, the MPs are patrons for that. Oh. Yes, Vice Chair. Yes, Vice Chair. Order, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. As the Vice Chairman of the NGCDF Committee, the current NGCDF Act 2023, the Member of Parliament is not even a patron. There is nowhere a Member of Parliament is mentioned.
The chair,
so please, can we have the records correct?
I stand corrected on that anyway,
Yeah.
But the presumption is that there's that amount of money available. Order! What's your point of order, Honorable Millie Mabona?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think we need to have the record straight, because we also have a matter in court.
Yes.
And when we actually put things on record, this is what people will take to the court and say how members of parliament are using CDF. We do not legally have any role in NGCDF. And so even when people are talking here, we need to be very factual about what the law provides.
Those facts are clear now, and the chair stands corrected on this. Order. Order, and the chair, order. The chair, because of the need for us to be very factual indeed, chair directs that the issue that CDF money is managed by MPs should be expunged from the records. So, Honorable Passaris, continue and please, you can conclude your
yes,
reply.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I mean, yes, it's. I mean, the thing is, I recently heard my party leader Raila Odinga say that we should, as MPs, conduct our roles of legislation oversight and not really and representation. Most of these funds, I think, should be really put in the areas where they should be able to serve the people. Now, Honorable Raphael Wanjala also made a contribution, and he said education is an equalizer. Education has helped most of the members of parliament here to be in this house, whether coming from a poor family or a rich family, and we're all earning the same money. So if we give free secondary education, we're enabling a lot of children to be able to get out there and be able to fend for themselves, not get into drugs, not get into early teenage pregnancies, not get into suicidal because of depression, of not being able to go to school. Honorable Beatrice Alachi said that every child sometimes doesn't go to school because they do not have uniforms. They cannot afford uniforms. So she also said that most of the public schools should be able to see how we can also provide uniforms. Honorable Nabil Nabire says maybe we need to be talking about making education really free from early childhood development all the way to secondary school and to raise the money. There were others that spoke and opposed, like Honorable Gideon Kimayo. He says it's a noble idea to amalgamate bursaries, right? But who is distributing them? We shouldn't really worry. There's always a question of what is the ministry doing? What is the executive doing? How can the legislation do better? I believe that we have an oversight role. The executive is under us, so if we do our oversight role well, we should be able to do it. The question is our egos. Do we feel that we can do it better than the executive? What we need to agree in principle is let every child go to school. Let education up to secondary be free. Because if it's not free, then we are actually not living up to our constitutional right, which we all took an oath to defend. We are not defending the constitutional right for free education when we oppose free education because we want to continue managing bursaries. Bursaries should be amalgamated. Every child should go to school. No parent should have to go to an office of an MP or a constituency office to be able to fill up a form, to be able to apply for bursaries. And let's face it, if we're really not directly involved, we're indirectly involved.
Order, Honorable Esther Passaris. Order. Order. Yes, what's your point of order?
You know, Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, sorry. Mr. Speaker, the honourable member has gone back again to her argument. She's bringing the same matter. We don't manage CDF.
Agreed.
I think she's completely out of order. Yeah, we are part and we have no law at all. I hope she could listen to Mary Odhiambo. Please listen to Mary if you can't listen to anybody else. Don't.
Order. I've had your point of order. Indeed, Honorable Esther Passaris, you're out of order on that because the law is very clear. And MPs do not have any role, legally, any role in this, it's about an essential order. I will, the question will be put, we can't put the question now. Order. Oh. Are you sure? Clerks, can you tell me whether we have quorum or not? Order. Honorable members, order. We do have it. We do. We do. Huh? Yeah? The Honorable Millie Odhiambo, proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to urge members that we proceed. We are always here when, for instance, this motion for Honorable Esther Passaris is complete. It will come either in the afternoon or the next time Parliament is sitting.
It can only come
We will keep vigilant. So please let us proceed. I beseech members. Let us proceed. I think you are understanding me. I hope you are understanding me. Yes, please let us proceed, and it will come. It will definitely come, and we'll keep vigilant.
Yes, the Honorable Owen Bayer.
Honorable Speaker, I want to agree with the Honorable Millie. I would like to say that we allow members to digest the content of these closing remarks as we move on to the next bill. And then as we finish digesting, we will take a vote. Let's move to the next.
For the information of the members of Parliament, this is a private member's motion. And a vote, rather, the question can only be put on a Wednesday morning. It can't be done on another day. So either I go to the next order. Other honorable members, my understanding is that members want to digest this issue a lot more before they take a decision on that, and I direct that we call for the next order.
Order number 10, the Environmental Management and Coordination Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 66 of 2023, second reading.
Who was on the floor at the time? Are you sure the honorable member? But I see so many hands raised. I'll get the record from my order. The last one who had some more time was Florence Jematia. She is not here. I will call upon. The Honorable Malanya, is he in the house? Yeah, you have a balance of 9 minutes. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to complete my contribution to this particular motion. Mr. Speaker, I support the motion to amend the Environmental Management Act so that we can regulate the planting of eucalyptus trees in this country. Mr. Speaker, research has shown that this particular tree has has high rate of transpiration, in that it's very difficult for other trees or plants to grow near it or under it. And as a result, it has caused a lot of problems in our country, whereby we have had many people rushing to plant the eucalyptus tree, especially in swampy areas and near riverbanks. And the result is that traditionally we used to have crops that we would support our food basket, like the arrowroots and other crops that can grow near riverbanks and swampy areas. But after the introduction of these eucalyptus trees, we have had a lot of effect in that we cannot have the production of this particular crop has drastically reduced, and as such, our people are suffering. For instance, in my constituency, Nambali constituency, we have had many people destroying the riverbanks and the swampy areas. We no longer have swampy areas where we can have crops grown during the drought season. And as a result, Mr. Speaker, I wish to support the amendment of the act so that we can regulate this particular crop being planted near the riverbanks. Let's have it controlled in that we can plant it in dry areas so that because of its resistance in drought, the tree can do well in areas where we're not doing agricultural production, so that the more viable land for agriculture can remain for food production. And Mr. Speaker, we know that the advantages, the disadvantages of this particular tree outweigh the advantages. Although science has shown that this particular tree can help, or they can help us have treatment on arthritis and other itchy diseases for the athletes. But when you look at even the wood produced from eucalyptus tree, it's not even a wood that is attractive even to our joinery people, because you find that it's a very hardy wood that cannot give us good furniture. So when we say that we allow this growing of this particular tree, we are really destroying our environment. And for that particular reason, Mr. Speaker, I support the motion and pray that let this particular tree be regulated and not be planted at near riverbanks and swampy areas. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Emilio Odhiambo, MP for Suba North. Are you in the House? Okay.
Yes, I am, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to rise to support Honorable Irene Mayaka in this bill. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that really this is a very straightforward bill because it's about environmental conservation. I know that the eucalyptus plant has very many benefits because it grows very fast. And there are also very many commercial benefits to the plant. Nonetheless, if we plant it by the rivers or by the water, it has potential of drying up our rivers and denying our water sources. Mr. Speaker, we know that as a country, we're actually suffering very severely the impact of climate change. I think many of us, when we hear the issue of climate change, we think it is actually a very romantic notion, or we think it is an exported notion or a foreign notion. But Mr. Speaker, one of the things I've noticed, if you want to know at a very practical level, since I was born, it has always rained on my birthday. And that is why my middle name is Akoth, because I was born when it was raining. But the last 4 years, it does not rain on my birthday, Mr. Speaker. And not only that, it's usually a rainy period which begins around end of October through to November. If you observe, Mr. Speaker, it has actually been raining now from mid-November. It becomes very difficult even for farmers to know how to plant, and that is why we are even having challenges of food security. There are certain man-made effects of climate change, and this is one of the man-made impacts of climate change. Mr. Speaker, nobody is stopping us from planting eucalyptus plants, but we need to be guided where it is done so that we not only have the benefits, but we also think about sustainability, especially for our younger generations, that we bequeath to them a country that is food secure and a country where they will not be suffering from the consequences of different diseases that are related to environmental change. Mr. Speaker, I want to also indicate and congratulate Honorable Mayaka, Mr. Speaker, because we need to be focusing especially on our beneficial plants. And you'll discover, because she's looked at the climate impact especially, but I wish that we could bring many, many more plants that are of benefit to the country, especially from a medicinal perspective. Mr. Speaker, I thank Honorable Mayaka, and I want to congratulate you that you are fairly focused. Since you came to this house, you are doing an excellent job, and you have my full support. Thank you, and I support.
Honorable Ngusia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity also to add my voice on this bill. And Mr. Speaker, from the onset, let me start by thanking my sister, Irene Mayaka. She has really surprised me since she joined this august house by the number of contributions and also many legislative proposals she has brought to this house, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a very straightforward bill. Actually, it doesn't need a lot of debate, and she has been based in most of our legislative proposals based on the practical aspects, especially coming from Nyamira, where it is a wetland, Mr. Speaker. We all know eucalyptus tree has got commercial benefits, but Mr. Speaker, our concern here is environmental conservation. We are not really banning or rather stopping planting eucalyptus, but we are calling upon in this bill to plant this tree in the best area where we don't have a lot of issues of negative environmental impact, Mr. Speaker. Eucalyptus use a lot of water, and especially if it's planted along our rivers, we are going to face the issues of security in terms of provision of water in our country, Mr. Speaker. And I think being a straightforward thing, eucalyptus also has got so many disadvantages, especially when it comes to environmental issue. It is one of the tree which is, I'll call it a greedy tree, whereby it competes with almost all the kind of varieties of the trees, and in terms of the water, and even sometimes it can lead to soil depletion in areas where we have planted it, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would just go by saying we need to support this amendment, and I'm calling upon the members actually to think on areas where we can plant eucalyptus for a commercial benefit. But along the rivers, let us introduce other varieties of trees that we can plant there so that we can actually fight this issue of climate change. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I support. Thank you.
Excellent. Very well spent. MP for Kitutu Masaba. Clive.
Thank you, Honorable.
Followed by Buddy.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I would like to take this opportunity also to thank Honorable Mayaka for bringing this very substantive amendment. Honorable Speaker, I do come from the county of Nyamira, where also Honorable Mayaka comes from, and I would like to state that the eucalyptus trees has become a menace. Honorable Speaker, while we grew up, Gusii lands had rivers and streams. That is not the case today. Because of the number of eucalyptus trees that have been planted alongside these rivers, we no longer have rivers. We have a huge tree cover in the region, but of the wrong species. The eucalyptus trees, Honorable Speaker, cannot even allow grass to grow under it. Because of the commercialization of the tree and the demand by the tree, by the tea factories, to use in their furnaces, it has even made our small-scale farmers to move away from growing more productive food crops and substituting that to trees, the eucalyptus trees. This even has affected the food security in the region. While we are not saying that we need a total ban of the eucalyptus trees, we are saying we need to have laws that guide on areas where it can be planted. And more so, we need to know, guidelines need to be set and laws need to be set to ensure that a certain distance from a riparian land, we should never have the eucalyptus trees. And because this bill also affects the county, we would like that the counties pick the implementation of it and enforce that this law is put into effect. Because while we have short-term gains commercially, the long-term consequences are severe. We'll also urge that factories that use the eucalyptus for their furnaces, we need to start thinking ahead and you look for alternative ways of energy. Because this also contributes to the green gas emissions. Honorable Speaker, we support this bill in totality, and we hope that the respective ministries, once it's passed, move with speed and ensure that this tree is moved away from our waterways. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Badi.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipatia nafasi hii.
Followed by Honorable Kimaiyo.
Ya kuweza kuchangia. Kwanza Mheshimiwa Spika, nasema kwa jambo hili ni jambo zuri sana la usimamizi wa mazingira na utaratibu ni muhimu sana katika kushughulikia masuala magumu ya mazingira. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, nachukua fursa hii saizi kumuunga mkono na kumpongeza dada yetu Irene Mayaka kwa kuweza kuja na mswada wa aina namna hii. Na Mheshimiwa Spika, jambo kama hili katika kulifuatilizia ni muhimu sana kuwe na kitu inaitwa utawala wa ushirikiano. Yaani tunasema ni collaborative governance. Kwa sababu vile ambavyo imeweza kuzungumzwa jambo kama hili haliwezekani likaonekana linashughulikiwa na watu fulani peke yake. Ni muhimu county, serikali kuu yote kuangalia namna gani itaweza kulishughulikia jambo hili. Na mwisho pia zaidi Mheshimiwa Spika, jambo kama hili ni kuangalia kuwe na kitu ambayo inaitwa mapito ya kijumla ya mfumo. Yani kwa lugha ya Kiingereza inaitwa systematic mapping reviews. Kuona kuwa ni muhimu sana mambo kama haya tuweza kuangalia miti haya inapandwa namna gani na mahali gani. Juu ya mmea wa Eucalyptus, tunaangalia Mheshimiwa Spika madhara yake makubwa sana ambayo yanafanyika ni kuona kuwa ikipandwa katika kando kando ya rivers ama kando kando ya mito, inakunywa maji sana na kuweza kukausha katika sehemu hizo. Kwa hivyo ni lazima tutafute mbinu mbadala, kwa sababu ndugu zetu hapa wamesema Kisii hivi sasa mmea huu umekuwa ni shida kubwa sana ambayo imeweza kuwapata watu wetu. Na wengi ambao wako katika pembezoni za mito, Mheshimiwa Spika, mpendekezo yangu zaidi ni kuona kuwa tuweze kupanda mimea mbadala ambayo haitakuwa ikileta madhara, kwa sababu kando na kunyonya Eucalyptus, huu mti pia unadhoofisha nguvu ya kuweza
What's your point about the honorable?
No, tandaza hakuna neno
order badi. Order. Nidhamu badi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Is the Honorable Member in order to be contributing in Kiswahili and again combining it with English. I know it's against our standing order. I wanted to inform him that
order.
Eucalyptus in Kiswahili is called mkalatusi. So, atumie lile neno linalostahili mkalatusi badala ya kutumia neno la Kizungu wakati anazungumza Kiswahili. Asante, mkalatusi.
Badi pamoja na vile mwenyekiti anakupongeza kwa jinsi ambapo umeongea Kiswahili kwa kifani na kifahari.
Yes.
Bado lakini una ziada la kuongeza. Ushapewa sasa jina la hiyo mti ambayo inaitwa mkalatuzi. Mkalatuzi. Endelea basi na huku ukisema mkalatuzi.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Speaker, na naridhia kuweza kupawa msamiati huu na ndugu yangu Tandaza. Na Tandaza amebobea katika mambo haya kwa sababu hata hii mkalatusi ambayo alikuwa akiona ikipandwa kule Matuga, alikuwa akiwa na bekaruga wakenda wakiitoa pale hivi ili siweze kudhoofisha hali ile ya udongo ama mchanga ule. Lakini zaidi, Mheshimiwa Speaker, neno ambalo mimi ningependa kusema ni kwa kuwa jambo lolote la kimazingira ni jambo la kutiliwa maanani sana. Na Mheshimiwa Irene Mayaka kuweza kuja na jambo kama hili ni jambo la kuweza kupongezwa. Mimi nataka kumwambia dadangu Irene ya kuwa kwa jambo hili tutashikana pamoja kuliunga mkono. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Speaker, tumeona mambo kama haya kwa watu wengi sana hawayatii manani, lakini mambo ya mazingira ndio ambayo yanatupatia chakula. Leo tukiangalia nchi ya Burkina Faso, yule rais wa ile nchi kule, Mheshimiwa Speaker, anasifika hivi sasa kwa sababu watu wake wanaishi bila njaa. Kwa sababu kubwa sana ni kwa kuwa aliweza kuzingatia mambo ya mazingira, akaweza kutia maanani kuona ni eneo gani ambayo zitaweza kusaidia wananchi wake katika sehemu mbalimbali. Leo hii tunasema maji ni uhai, Mheshimiwa Speaker. Kwa hivyo bila mito yetu kuwa thabiti, hatuwezi kupata chakula kwa njia nzuri ambayo tunaweza kulisha watu wetu. Hali ya maisha leo, Mheshimiwa Speaker, imekuwa ngumu. Tukiangalia leo, Mheshimiwa Speaker, watu wengi sana wanagura kutoka mashambani kuja kwenye miji ili kuja kutafuta kazi na kujikimu kimaisha. Hatuwezi kujikimu kimaisha katika miji bila kuwa na pesa mfukoni. Lakini tukiwa mashambani, tukihifadhi mito yetu, tukihifadhi mazingira, tutaweza kuwa na chakula cha kutosha, yani food security. Nafikiri hapo sijachanganya sana, Tandaza akazuruka tena, na namuaminia Tandaza kwa sababu wakati fulani aliniwakilisha mimi kwenye eneo bunge langu sawa na akajigeuza kama Fulangenge. Lakini nashukuru Mheshimiwa Speaker kunipatia nafasi hii ili na mimi kuchangia. Kwa hivyo nataka na mimi kuingia kwenye rekodi ya bunge kwa nimesimama Mheshimiwa Badi Twalib kumuunga mkono Mheshimiwa Irene Mayaka katika hoja hii. Asante na Mungu atubariki.
Mheshimiwa Kimayo akifuatwa na Mheshimiwa Kivayo Gesi. Kivayo Gesi yuko kwenye sawa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I join my colleagues in supporting the amendment of this bill, sponsored by my colleague, friend, Mheshimiwa Irene Mayaka. Mr. Speaker, global warming and climate change is real. Every time we see there is flooding, there is drought, communities that stay downstream where the rivers start, they face the challenges of this flooding and global warming. The current bill sponsored by Irene Mayaka seeks to amend Section 147 of the Environment and Coordination Act of 2023. And it seeks to prohibit the growing of eucalyptus trees along our rivers. This eucalyptus tree, we famously call it in our rural areas, the blue cam. Mr. Speaker, when these trees are grown around our rivers, our streams, there is a way that it reduces the volume of water that we get from our streams. So I support this bill. I support the amendment of this bill. And I urge our communities, I urge our people that instead of growing these trees because it reduces the volume of our waters in our basins, let us grow other trees. For example, we can grow fruit trees like avocado. In my local constituency, that is Keyo South, we can go back to where we used to grow bamboo in our islands, because these ones are known to conserve water. Mr. Speaker, also in my constituency, there's a local tree called, I don't know what is the name in English, but my people will resonate with it. It is called Lamayuet in Kalenjin. These trees are known to conserve water. So I urge my people of Keyo South that as I support this bill, this amendment of this bill, I urge them to grow the traditional trees that we use to conserve water, the bamboo and other trees, the traditional trees that we know. As I support this amendment, I ask my people of Keyo South in the 5 forest blocks of Kaptagat, Kipkabos, Penon, and Sapor, that let's go back to where our streams start from. Mr. Speaker, my constituency, we have 5 forest blocks. Most of these, they have the streams where it now joins and it forms the major rivers downstream as you go to Lake Victoria. But as we speak, most of them no longer have the forest cover that it used to have before because of the growing population and the need to get food. So I urge them to remove the blue cam. Let's plant bamboo. Let's plant other traditional trees that will conserve our water. With that, Mr. Speaker, I support. Thank you.
The Honorable Ogesi, MP for Vihiga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice to this important bill. From the outside, let me start by congratulating the move of the amendment for a job well done. And just as a way of a historical perspective, Mr. Speaker, in the last parliament, we had a proposal on the same. But that proposal by Honorable Kirima was trying to say we ban the growing of this tree. That's the reason I'm backing this amendment is because here we are talking of banning the growth of this tree alongside rivers, specific areas, which I support. Mr. Speaker, this tree is known to be very unfriendly, even to the other plants around it. I join my colleagues who have already stated the facts about this tree. Where I come from in Maragoli, in Vihiga, we were doing reforestation of the Maragoli forest. And the colonialists told us to abandon all our indigenous trees in favor of these new varieties. And we have all seen the consequence of that. Right now, we are struggling to reforest, but now we are telling people to go back to the indigenous trees. Here, we are talking of advantages and disadvantages. This tree has the advantage of growing fast for commercial purposes. In fact, Mr. Speaker, in my constituency, you have a unique case where you find a neighbor is planting eucalyptus so that he harvests it to go and sell in the market, but he has killed all, the shamba that is his own shamba doesn't grow any crop. My view is, there is, when I was reading this bill, I wish there's still time. Because what I notice is that you find a case where a neighbor is planting this tree alongside the common border. So what happens? What happens is that he affects the neighbor's growth plantations. I wish we could have even a provision whereby even before you grow these trees, your neighbor should accent to it because of the harmful effects. Of course, the commercial value is known, and I urge that this tree, we have enough land in this republic. We can grow it as a big commercial plantation tree elsewhere. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to support this amendment totally, and wish the mover could even include an element of what I was talking about, our neighbors. Because if they plant it next to you, you are affected as much as the person who is planting. I support, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable MP for Imenti South, followed by Honorable Nyenze, and the MP for Kajiado North. In that order, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, let me thank you.
Is Madam Nyenze in the house? Where is she? I can't see her. Oh, yes. Okay, proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to participate in this bill. I'll commence by thanking Honorable Member Irene Mayaka for this noble bill, which is long overdue. The initiative of this bill is to protect the future generation through the controlled planting of the eucalyptus trees. Mr. Speaker, the bill seeks to regulate, to prohibit planting of eucalyptus trees anyhow. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, the bill also indicates or seeks to remove trees of eucalyptus that are already planted on the water catchment. Mr. Speaker, we need to prohibit the planting of eucalyptus trees along the rivers, lakes, seas, and the wetland. Mr. Speaker, a case study of a South Imenti, where I come from and where I represent the people of South Imenti, we have learned or found that rivers are at a high risk of drying up, and we need to reclaim the wetland areas for cultivation purposes. Mr. Speaker, the various effects of eucalyptus are many. This is because, Mr. Speaker, eucalyptus absorbs a lot of water from the ground, consuming a lot of water from the rivers. Eucalyptus, Mr. Speaker, are characterized by extensive roots that absorb a lot of water. Mr. Speaker, the case study in South Imenti has indicated a decline in the percentage of the water in the wetland. Mr. Speaker, it has also been found that where eucalyptus have been planted, there are changes of the ecosystem, or the ecosystem is disrupted. Mr. Speaker, areas where we have eucalyptus, there is a lot of soil degradation. This is because, Mr. Speaker, the leaves from the trees litter the ground, and it changes the chemistry of the soil, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the eucalyptus trees also affect the other indigenous species. That means they have a lot of effect on other trees on that area. Mr. Speaker, it has also been found that where eucalyptus trees have been cut, there is a lot of soil erosion. Mr. Speaker, we are not condemning the eucalyptus trees, but we are seeking the control of the planting and the elimination of the trees in water catchment areas. Eucalyptus are important, Mr. Speaker, especially on provision of firewood and timber. We find that most of the tea factories, especially where I come from, depend on the eucalyptus. We are suggesting, Mr. Speaker, eucalyptus can be planted in the dry areas whereby there is no competition of the water. So, Mr. Speaker, regardless that we get a lot of firewood, timber, and it is also medicinal, we are requesting the amendment of the Act to clear these trees from these particular areas. So, Mr. Speaker, I support the amendment of this bill, and it is long overdue. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
MP for Kitui West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Thank you for this opportunity. Let me take this opportunity to also congratulate my colleague, Honorable Irene Mayaka, for coming up with this motion on environmental management and continuation amendment bill. And I would say that eucalyptus has many advantages, and my colleagues have talked about it, that it's used as a medicinal tree, and also that it's used for commercial purposes. Actually, it grows very fast and matures very fast, and therefore very good to be used as a commercial plant for timber and also firewood. But it also has disadvantages, which I think that's why the mover of the motion has actually said that we should have amendments, because it has the tree has very high transpiration rates, and I think that is why the soil gets dry, and also makes the soil fertility decline. And it's also incompatible with the preservation of diversity. And that's why the bill talked about controlling the growth of the plant, especially near water catchment areas. But I think the concerned ministry also should actually advise Kenyans accordingly. Because when this tree was being introduced, actually it was being said to come from South Africa, a very fast growing tree, one which would really be very beneficial, especially as a commercial plant. And that's why many people now planted it, because it grows very fast and also makes the area very green, especially in arid areas. So I would say that the concerned ministry should actually come up with a research that as we replace this one, which is the best tree to plant. I remember in some parts of the arid areas of Kenya, there's a plant known as madenge, which was planted. Actually, it was supposed to improve the area, to make it green, to also make grow trees around the area. But eventually it has the disadvantages outweigh the advantages. So my concern is the right research should be done to know now when we remove the eucalyptus, what else should replace it, and what is the best plant a tree to grow in these semi-arid and arid areas. And now, since the government has the plan of growing over 15 million, I think it's 15 million or billion trees, I would suggest that in these, especially the riparian areas, we start by removing these eucalyptus and replace them with the right plant, which would actually ensure that instead of drying the area, that would have the water preserved around the riparian areas. And this would also go a long way in improving our environment, ensuring that our Kenya can grow good crops, and that we move from food insufficiency to actually have enough food in our country. So enough research should be done, and I've said that this one, as it was being introduced, it was introduced even from the ministry, and that is right research should be done so that we plant and replace with the right plants. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, I support. Thank you.
Go. Proceed, MP for
Thank you.
North.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for granting me this opportunity. I rise, Mr. Speaker, to support the amendment to the Environment Management Control Act that has been introduced by the member. Mr. Speaker, I also speak as a member of the committee, and I must begin by saying that we will support the amendment because, Mr. Speaker, it provides a solution to the larger management of our environment. But, Mr. Speaker, as a committee, we will also do so with amendments. And during the committee stage, one of the things we want to do, and first of all, it's important for everyone to know that we are amending Section 47 of the Act by empowering the Cabinet Secretary so that he is able to come up with regulation that will, one, maintain, that will protect, and that will go further even to the existing, if the existing trees, that the CS is now able to come up with regulations of how they will be removed and how they will stop and how they will maintain the wetlands, the rivers, lakes, or any other place, including sources of water. As a committee, we also feel that a law should be futuristic. A good law should look at the future and not only now. So we think, apart from eucalyptus, and I thank the Honorable Nyenze, she has mentioned the issue of madenge. In other counties, they are not being affected by eucalyptus, but they have the mathenge, let me call it weed, that has now taken over. When you come to Kajiado, a place called Magadi, the mathenge tree has replaced grass. You literally can't get grass where the mathenge tree is. When you go to Baringo, it is actually a crisis. And therefore, what we are saying, we will support the Honorable Mayaka's amendment with another amendment to include any other tree, so that it is not only eucalyptus, but other species that are dangerous, one, to our sources of water, so that we also deal with this problem once and for all. But the introduction of this amendment gives us the opportunity to make a law that will be very consistent and that will look at the future. So that right now, when the CS, together with NEMA, because NEMA is the implementing agency, once they realize that there's a hazardous tree, they will be able to create the regulation on how to go forward to it. Lastly, I want to talk about Kenya Forest Research Institute. The institute in Kenya that should tell us this is a dangerous tree is KEFRI. But because it is ever underfunded, they are not able to do what is correct. Number one, no foreign tree should come to Kenya before testing the impact within a period of time. And normally they recommend 10 years. So before a tree like eucalyptus was made to be accepted in this country, for 10 years they should have learned. True, it has advantages. It is actually a commercial tree. But it is in South Africa, it is never planted on government land. It is only private. It is private people who do it. They are given specific areas where they do it. They are actually inspected properly. And when you visit that country, you'll be surprised that KEFRI actually does inspection of people who do private tree planting. Therefore, I want to say that, Mr. Speaker, as a committee, we are happy that this amendment going forward will provide a good route. And the Honorable Mayaka, thank you for being foresighted. But to improve further, we will be introducing amendments so that this law is not only for eucalyptus, it is for any hazardous tree, And number two, it will look at the future and will be able to provide the cabinet secretary together with NEMA with more tools so that they are able to stop, to maintain, they're able to detect, and KEFRI provides what is the KEFRI will be able to provide now the technical knowledge. And for your information, KEFRI is one of the best institutions in Africa, but it is, their funding is 90% from private sector, JICA. The government of Kenya does not provide a coin. And I want to challenge our Kenya Kwanza government. We are saying we want to plant 15 billion trees. You need to provide seedlings. These seedlings, it's only KEFRI that can provide them. You are not putting in even a shilling to KEFRI to provide those trees. That will be a major challenge. If you say input, you have to provide, you cannot have output without input. Provide the resources so that you're also able to counter the process. Because when you cut down the eucalyptus that are existing, it will have a disadvantage. So going forward, we need to look at it in a better manner. And now that it is broad-based, let us also be broad-based when we are thinking of the solution going forward. Thank you very much, and Honorable Mayaka, pongezi sana for that. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Bonchari, and followed by Bedzimba of Kisauni.
I thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this motion. First of all, I wish to congratulate Honorable Irene Mayaka for moving this bill this far. Where I come from in Bonchari, growing up, I saw good big rivers, wetlands, and very beautiful vegetation. But over the years, I've seen this decline. I've seen the river, the waters decline. I've seen the wetlands deplete. And I've seen agriculture compromised and not doing well because of these adverse effects of what's happening in the environment. I've seen the ecosystem, the animals I used to see in my neighborhood are not there anymore. This is because of what's happening in the environment. Indeed, as documented by the World Meteorological Organization, that in the last 30 years, we have seen very adverse effects. We have seen the rivers are drying up, the water sources are drying up because of various reasons. And we have experienced erratic weather conditions. The rains come when they're not expected, or there was not like the experience before. The drought spells are very long, and so many other things. The threats cannot be gainsaid, Mr. Speaker, that are posed to the ecosystems, the agriculture that is declining because of the inadequate water, and the human populations also affected by these effects. Of course, not to say that this is caused by the eucalyptus tree. We also know from the climate change, and the main culprit is the greenhouse gases, that we need to take care of, as well as the unsustainable human activities that need to be curbed. I'm happy with what the contribution made by my colleague, Honorable Ngogoyo, that the committee will be supporting this, and that there will be other measures that are going to help us in conserving and improving our water sources. But also, Mr. Speaker, as we think about legislating on what we think is going to improve and enhance and sustain our water sources, we also need to bring in how the population, how the people who are around the rivers on their own. We incentivize them, we encourage them so that they can bring conservation measures that are sustainable, not necessarily through the law, but the law should be one among the many measures that we can put in place for us to conserve our water sources. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I support this bill and I congratulate my colleague, Honorable Irene Mayaka. Thank you.
The Honorable Bedzimba by Esther Passaris and Tandaza.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Tutafurahia kama ukizungumza Kiswahili.
Asante.
Lakini chaguo ni lako.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kunipa fursa ya kuweza kuchangia mswada huu wa mazingira, ambalo mazingira ndio kila kitu Katika taifa lenye afya na nguvu, mazingira ndio mpaka itangulie mbele, ndio hivyo vitu vinapatikana. Kwa hivyo ni muunge mkono Mheshimiwa Mayaka kwa msaada huu ile ambao ameuleta kulinda mazingira, ambalo narudia ni jambo la muhimu. Hata kama mti wa mkalatusi una faida zake, lakini pia ina madhara yake. Ni vyema sana kuangalia faida ya kitu na hasara yake ipi imezidi. Na kama hivyo alivyoizungumzia kwamba inakausha maji kwenye mito na pia kutoa nguvu kwenye mchanga, ambayo hiyo ni hasara kubwa kwa taifa. Kwa hivyo ni vyema sana huu mti kama tunaweza kuondoa kabisa ili uwe haupatikani katika eneo letu. Ingawa wengine ninawasikia si wapingi, lakini wamezungumzia kwamba kuwe na sehemu maalumu ambayo huu mti utapangwa kando na mito. Lakini kama ni mti ambao unanyonya maji, katika ardhi yetu, Mheshimiwa Spika, hii tulioko, kuna maji ambayo yanapita chini, yanatembea. Na haya maji huwa yanaenda katika sehemu fulani. Yana faida kubwa ambayo katika taifa. Ikiwa madhara yako kwa mti kwamba inanyonya, kwa hivyo hata mkiupanda katika sehemu fulani itanyonya. Kuna sehemu katika ardhi ambayo maji yanatembea chini, itanyonya yale na itakausha. Wakati itakausha, ardhi itakuwa haina nguvu, na kuna sehemu nyingi ambayo unaweza kuona usione madhara pale karibu, lakini kama madhara yako mbali, kwamba kuna mimea haimei ama chakula hakiwi na nguvu, hakiwi na rutuba ardhi, kwa sababu ya yale maji ambayo ile mti umechukua. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kwamba ikiwa mti huu kweli tunaona watu wa Powerlight wanaitumia, lakini waje na mbinu mbadala ya kuwa sasa kama si lazima watumie hiyo, hata kama ni simiti ama ni vipi, kuona kwamba tasimamiza nguzo zao, ile miti ipigwe marufuku kabisa hapa. Na ikiwa lazima basi ipandwe, basi ikiwa tunaweza kusema kwamba sisi katika fuo za bahari kuna miti inaitwa mikoko, ndio inapandwa sana, inamea yenyewe mara nyingi, na tukipanda pia inamea. Sasa ikiwa hii mti huu lazima upandwe na unataka unanyonya maji kwa wingi, basi upandwe baharini. Bahari itanyonya, itakoma wewe ile miti, kwa sababu maji bado yatakuwa yako. Lakini kando ya bahari, lakini sio katika ardhi ambayo tunategemea maji yale ambayo yako chini ya ardhi ama yanapita. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi pia nimesimama kuunga mswada huu na kuhakikisha kwamba huu mti huu uondolewe. Ingawa wakati ulikuja ulikuwa umefanyiwa utafiti, lakini kila siku kuna utafiti unaendelea katika dunia. Kuna vitu tulikuwa tunatumia zamani, sasa havifai. Kama zamani tulikuwa sisi tunatumia asbestos, alafu baadaye utafiti ukaja wakasema kwamba hii inasababisha saratani, na sasa mti huu watu wamekuja tena kuona kwamba una hasara kubwa. Kwa hivyo ikiwa ni hivyo, madhali tunatoa vile vitu ambavyo tulifanya kwanza bila kujua, na utafiti unakuja wakileo kwamba wanatofautisha vitu vingine ambavyo havifai, hii ni moja ambayo haifai. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, nimesimama hapa mbele yako kuunga mkono kwamba mti huu uweze kuondolewa, ulete ule mti ambao utakuwa na manufaa. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Mheshimiwa Esther Passaris, nakumbuka babako alifanya kazi Mombasa siku nyingi sana.
Ndio.
Sijui kwa nini umesahau Kiswahili chako pia.
Pole sana. Sorry Mr. Speaker.
Marehemu babako alikuwa rafiki yangu sana.
Asante.
Tuendelee.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to Honorable Irene Mayaka's amendment bill on the Environment Management and Coordination bill, especially bringing an amendment on the eucalyptus tree. What is the concern of Honorable Irene Mayaka? It is the fact that our rivers are drying. Our rivers are drying for many reasons. We don't need to add to those reasons. Having the eucalyptus tree planted right next to the riverbed means that the rivers will dry even faster. And we have seen that with climate change and drought, we have a lot of water scarcity. We have crops and livestock losses. We have increased conflict. We have increased diseases. We have riverbank erosions. We have wetlands degradation. So we don't need to add to the problem. What we need to do is, eucalyptus tree is an economic tree. It grows very fast, but we could actually plant it away from the riverbed. Respect the riparian land. Make sure that if there are eucalyptus trees around the riparian land, they are actually cut and kept at a distance so that they do not affect the rivers. Because we need our rivers to flow. We need people actually to move away from the rivers and the rivers to flow, because if the rivers don't flow and the rivers dry, then what happens? A lot of people go down and start digging the riverbed, and then they end up getting the water that is contaminated and they end up getting sick. So what we need to do is recognize that anything that harms the environment, anything that will deny us having the water that we need to be able to have our animals, to be able to save our women from trekking long distances to get water, is something progressive for the country. It is really encouraging when we see even members of government stand up and say KEFRI should be funded. It should be funded because we need seedlings that are going to be able to be grown around the riverbed, because we do need to have more seedlings, but the right seedlings. We also need to focus not just on the environment ministry needs to focus not just on eucalyptus, but we need to focus on all the trees that are not good for our riverbeds, all the trees that are not good for our environment. And I think once we tackle the eucalyptus tree, and that means not stopping it from growing, but stopping it from being grown near the riverbeds. If we can actually have farms for eucalyptus tree, it is actually a medicinal tree. It has a lot of benefits, but it is not going to benefit you don't need an evil to make a good. So we have to get rid of that evil of having the eucalyptus tree next to the riverbed, because that is drying our rivers, and we need our rivers to flow. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
MP for Matuga.
Asante, Mheshimiwa Spika. Mti huu mkalatusi, hata kwa jina lake peke yake katika lugha ya Kiswahili unaona kule mwisho kuna neno tusi. Nafikiri tunajua tusi sio neno zuri. Kwa wale wenyewe wa Swahili ambao wamebobea huwa tunasema ashkum si matusi, lakini mti huu tayari unaonyesha kwamba una balaa, kwa sababu wakati na huwa tunazungumza, ukimzaa mtoto wako alafu unamuita njaa ama tabu, basi ni kama ambao ushamlaani kwanza pale mwanzo. Kwa hivyo mti mkalatusi tayari una matusi, una nuksi, una balaa. Na ndio maana umetufikisha pale ambapo tupo sasa hivi. Mti huu ukiangalia katika historia yake ni mti ambao si wa kiasili. Ulifanya kuletwa na mzungu karne iliyopita wakati wakijenga reli, na wakati ule wakaona kwamba hakukuwa na mbao za kutosha, wakaleta huu mti bila kuwa na utaratibu ama ufasaha ama kuweza kufanyia utafiti kule ulikotolewa na hapo unapoletwa utakuwa na madhara gani. Kwa hivyo kwanza ieleweke kwamba sio mti ambao uliletwa kwa nia njema ama kwa kuzingatia hali yetu ya kimazingira hapa. Na ikiwa ni mti ambao uliletwa na saa hizi unaleta madhara, huu basi sio mti ambao tungekuwa tunachukua muda mwingi wa kuwa upandwe wapi, uondelewe wapi, upelekwe wapi, kwa sababu mti huu ukiupanda mahali ambao hakuna maji, ukweli ni kwamba hauwezi kufanya vizuri. Na mahali popote ambao utatolewa, utakapopelekwa utahitaji maji ili uweze kunawiri. Na endapo hata ikiwa utapelekwa mahali ambao tutasema utakuwa sasa sio karibu na mito, inamaanisha kuna maji ambayo lazima yapelekwe pale. Na maji haya yatatoka wapi? Hayatatoka Ulaya, hayatatoka kule ambako huu mti ulitolewa. Itabidi tutumie maji yetu hapa. Na hapo ndipo hatari inapokuja. Mti huu ukiukalia kwa utafiti ni kwamba kwa kila siku ili uweze kunawiri utahitaji lita kati ya lita 60 na lita 200. Haya ni maji ambayo hata kwa binadamu wa kawaida hahitaji maji kama haya. Kwa hivyo hili ni jinamizi, ni jini la kuja kutulumalizia maji yetu na mazingira yetu, na hatimaye kutuangamiza, tubaki na mkalatusi ambao una matusi ndani yake. Mti huu ukiuangalia kwa ndani, hata kwa ile sehemu ambayo mimi natoka ya Kwale, pale ambapo huu mti ulipandwa, kama kulikuwa na kinamasi Na kinamasi, kama utaruhusu Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa kimombo ni swamp, kwa sababu siniwe nazungumza alafu nikawa sieleweki nazungumza nini. Sehemu zile zilikuwa na kinamasi ambazo wakati ule tulikuwa sisi tukikua tunaweza kupanda mpunga. Ieleweke kwamba pia kwa Kiswahili hatupandi mchele, tunapanda mpunga. Mchele unakuja baadaye. Sasa saa hizi hatuna tena zao hili la mpunga sehemu ile ambayo nilizaliwa, ambayo tulikuwa tuna mpunga, tunakula vizuri kwa sababu ya mti huu ambao umeweza kukausha maeneo yote ambayo yalikuwa na kinamasi. Mti huu unapopandwa sehemu ambayo kuna bwawa, ambapo tunajua sehemu nyingi za hapa Kenya tunatumia maji kutoka kwa mabawa kwa sababu mifereji haijafika kila mahali. Mti huu unakausha. Ukikausha ni madhara makubwa kwa binadamu, kwa wanyama ambao wangetumia. Unabaki na mti ambao ni nuksi, ambao unatudhalilisha katika maisha yetu. Mti huu endapo utapandwa sehemu ambayo kuna kisima, kisima hiki kitakauka. Na kisima hiki kikauka, tunajua yale madhara ambayo yanaweza kupatikana. Kwa hivyo, Mheshimiwa Spika, mti huu hautufai. Tulikuwa na miti yetu ya kiasili kama kule kwetu, tungeweza kupanda, ikiwa ni mikwakwa, ikiwa ni mizaje, ikiwa ni mininga, ikiwa ni mikwaju, ambayo ilikuwa haina madhara yoyote, na ili hali bado ingetumika kwa kazi zingine zote ambazo mti huu ungeweza kutumika. Lakini tujue kwamba hawa wenzetu ambao tunawaita marafiki zetu wa kutoka nchi za ugaibuni, mara nyingi hutupotosha sisi, tukaacha mila zetu, tukaacha asili yetu, tukaacha miti yetu, wakatuletea miti eti inakuwa haraka bila kutuambia kwamba wakati ikikuwa haraka ina madhara gani, alafu sisi tukaenda kuhangaika, hatimaye kurudi tena kwao kuomba misaada, kutafutia tena utaalamu, ili hali wao ndio ambao waliweza kuharibu mazingira yetu wakiwa wanajua itaweza kuleta madhara gani. Pale Kwale, kwa wale ambao waliweza kukaa maeneo yale ya pwani miaka ya 70 na 80, ilikuwa kila asubuhi mji wa Kwale kunanyesha mvua. Ilikuwa kila asubuhi mji wa Kwale haukosi guro, haukosi ule mvuke ambao ungesikia miti inavuma kwa sababu ya ule unyevu uliokuwa pale. Lakini saa hizi halipo tena. Hii ni janga kubwa na ni sehemu nyingi za nchi hii ambazo zimeathirika. Mheshimiwa Spika, nikiunga mkono mswada huu, ningetaka pia kutoa kongole zangu kwa mwenzetu dada yetu Irene ambaye ameweza kuleta mswada huu. Nisitishe tu kuunga mkono, ningemuunga hata mguu ili mswada huu uweze kutiliwa maanani haraka inavyowezekana, kwa sababu ni janga ambalo litatuathiri sote na kutuangamiza, ili hali tunao uwezo.
Nidhamu gani Mheshimiwa Badibadi?
Nimesimama kwa hoja ya nidhamu, Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa Mheshimiwa Tandaza. Ninavyomjua mimi, najua watu hungo mikono, lakini sasa yeye akisema yuamuunga Irene mpaka miguu na ni mtoto wa kisichana ama ni msichana, baadaye za kwenda akasema pia yuaunga viuno. Sasa Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi naona hiyo aiondoe.
Mheshimiwa Badibadi, umekiuka hiyo nidhamu. Amesema na muungana mkono na ngumi. Manake tangu tupate hii msera za COVID, watu si kuunga mkono peke yake, pia ngumi pia ni salamu. Ni aina ya salamu, ama sivyo? Ama ulisema na muunga mahali ingine? Mbona mimi nimesikia kama umesema na muunga na ngumi pia?
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika. Katika hoja hiyo niko katika sawia kabisa, Mheshimiwa Spika, kumuunga hata mguu, kwa sababu kitambo mkono iweze kushikana, basi lazima mguu nao umeweza kufanya kazi kumkaribia ndio niweze kumuunga. Na sikuwa na dhamira yoyote mbaya kama Mheshimiwa wa Jombo anavyofikiria. Mimi na Irene ni watu ambao tuna heshima zetu na tunazungumza mijadala kwa niaba ya Kenya nzima ili tuweze kuokoa. Mheshimiwa Spika, ninaunga mkono hoja hii na kongole kwa Mheshimiwa Irene Mayaka. Asante.
Mheshimiwa Susan Kiamba akifuatwa na Mheshimiwa Lemengit na Rueda.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to also put my input on this very important motion. Thanking my colleague Irene for bringing this forth, because this has actually been a menace in Kenya, and it was actually very difficult to have any judgment on how to move about it. So I think it's actually a bold step, having it in a motion, so that we eventually have an act which will actually spell where you should actually plant what kind of tree. While I congratulate her on that particular Honorable Speaker, we must realize that the planting of these trees has costed a lot of income. I know people today who have very big plantations, and I was just wondering, what incentives are we giving these people so that as they do away with these eucalyptus, they can actually feel very encouraged? So as we support it, because we are the people who really should also be concerned, we have safeguard measures to ensure that those who have actually planted these trees in the wrong places, because it was as a result of advice from the government and extension officers, what kind of incentive will we put in place so that they do not lose so much? Honorable Speaker, I'm saying like that because I have neighbors, even in arid areas, who spend their hard-earned income out of this wrong advice to have this particular kind of investment. And I think it would actually be very inhuman for people to get such a kind of advice and they actually suffer so much. Otherwise, I support this particular motion. But also in view of this, Honorable Speaker, I think as developing world in Africa, we have believed so much on outsiders. So much that this is actually going to cost us. Not only matters trees, I think also matters of our health. I think in Kenya we have quite a number of research institutions, but I don't know whether it is us as legislators who are not giving them the mandate or the resources to ensure that everything new we bring to this country is guided, is research-led. Because if we continue copy-pasting, now we are discovering eucalyptus, Honorable Speaker, after 60 or so years after it was introduced. What next are we going to discover, Honorable Speaker? I think it's high time that we activated our research institutions, Honorable Speaker, so that we can actually have research-led interventions, because this way we'll actually avoid pitfalls that like the one we are actually witnessing with eucalyptus. Honorable Speaker, I'm sure many people will tell me we have earned a lot of money, which is also true. But where else are we going to earn this money? I think still we go back to this research, because we also need some advice from our research institutions. We need money. As we do away with this eucalyptus, what are we going to plant that is actually going to have the good early maturing and the benefits we are losing from this eucalyptus? I think as I support this particular motion, I would wish in this particular country, as we do interventions, this could be research-led. And this way, we will actually advance interventions that will not have to redo them because somebody else said, out of practice, we realize we are losing a lot. Otherwise, I congratulate you, Irene, for this very important motion. And I hope soon we'll have it as an act which will actually enable us to protect our catchment. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yeah, what's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, I stand on standing order number 95. Going by the debate in the House, I see most of the people are supporting the motion and so many people have contributed. So I kindly request that the mover be called to reply.
Order. You will have your moment, but give it one or two more members to contribute on this who have a serious issue. The member for Mengit and then member for Lamu has some serious issues on this. And then, of course, Honorable Dena after that. I think then we can come to, you can rise on that point of order.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also support Irene Mayaka's amendment bill for prohibiting eucalyptus trees along the riverbanks, along the water bodies, and also along the water catchment areas. Honorable Speaker, as we all know that eucalyptus has high water consumption. It has very long, deep roots. It has very high water intake and therefore it lowers water levels across the environment. And therefore it makes water scarce in different regions. So this is one of the disadvantages that we have with eucalyptus. Also, research has been done that eucalyptus trees causes soil degradation. This species releases, there's a compound called allelopathic compound that inhibits the growth of other plants underneath, and therefore reducing biodiversity, leading to soil degradation. So it has a lot of disadvantages. However, in my constituency, Honorable Speaker, these eucalyptus are used in tea factories for firing the tea factory boilers, and it is a big thing over there because of quick growth, because it burns very well. So maybe for this bill to succeed, we need to encourage these factories to have other alternatives for fueling and also for roasting tea, for example, in my constituency. So until we have other different alternatives so that this bill can succeed. Also, this bill actually suggests and designates areas that eucalyptus trees should not be planted. We want to encourage farmers and tea factories out there who have large plantations so that they can designate the correct land parcels to plant these eucalyptus trees for continuity of those factories. But avoid these riverbanks and the swamps which act as buffer zones. We've had in, time out, where we have a lot of soil erosions, floods, because these buffer zones have been depleted. So that is once we have this, abolish this plantation of eucalyptus trees along riverbanks, then we can still give life to rivers and also conserve our water. Recently, the government has an initiative of planting indigenous trees along these swamps, along the riverbanks, and to protect, and the water catchment areas, to protect the environment. I would like to request the Ministry of Environment, led by our CS Honorable Duale, to speed up the process of allowing these youth to plant these indigenous trees so that we don't leave these spaces empty, where people can be also tempted to plant these indigenous trees. As we abolish these indigenous trees along these riverbanks and also in swamps, let's have an alternative so that it can cover up and protect the environment. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I submit.
Honorable Rueda, if you take just a few minutes, you will allow more.
Thank you. Asante, Bwana Speaker. Kunipatia nafasi nami nichangie kwenye mswada huu ulioletwa hapa na dada yetu Irene. Twakupongeza sana, twajua kazi unaitenda. Mimi ningesema hivi, Mwenyezi Mungu ndiye mbunifu zaidi kushinda watu wote. Na Mwenyezi Mungu alikuwa anajua sisi mti huu hatuna umuhimu nao, ndo hakutupatia. Sisi sengine tunaleta ufundi, lakini Mwenyezi Mungu amepanga mambo kwa mipango yake. Amepanga bila kubagua au kusema ile inequality. Kama Lamu sisi tuna mikoko na mikoma na mingine mazao kama yale Mwenyezi Mungu ambaye mwenyewe alitupangia, ajua area hii ukipanda hizi zinakuwa vizuri. Sio mimi kama mtu wa Lamu nipange yangu sasa ya yale mambo yetu ya kibinadamu, unataka kuleta kitu pengine ni kizuri kwa kwingine lakini huku hakiwezekani. Kwa mfano mimi mtu wa Lamu niseme nitaka kupanda chai au nataka kupanda kahawa, itawezekana vipi? Kwa hivyo mti huu unaitwa mikaratusi.
Mkalatuzi.
Mkalatusi.
Tusi, yeah.
Yes. Mti huu kama uko na shida umeletwa na binadamu. Nimeona kwamba huu mti ulikuwa Kenya hakuna, ulikuwa ni wa kwingine. Na maji ni muhimu. Ikiwa kama kuna mti ambao unakunywa maji zaidi, sisi wenyewe binadamu bado tuna vita na wanyama kwa sababu hayo maji. Sasa hayo maji ni muhimu kwa mazingira, kwa wetu sisi binadamu na wanyama kwa jumla. Kwa hivyo kuna haja haraka, na najua ministry sahihi iko na waziri mtendakazi inshallah, na waziri mwingine pia alikuweko pale alikuwa ni mtendakazi. Wote inshallah walifanya kazi nzuri, na hapa inshallah najua utasaidika, na sisi tuko pamoja na iweze kurekebishika. Kama ni lazima, kama wafaa utolewe usipande kabisa. Tupande ile ambayo ina faida na ile ambayo area hiyo inakubali. Sio lazima sisi kwetu kule kuna kasorina unaweza panda, si lazima hiyo mti mbadala wa ule. Sio lazima Eucalyptus. Tutafute kama inaleta athari. Sisi wajua hizo athari tunazisikia uchungu zaidi, kwa sababu sisi Lamu, Kenya nzima, tuwafaa tupongezwe. Mwanzo ni Nyeri ndio ina miti mingi zaidi, kisha ya pili ni Lamu. Sisi tunajivunia kwa kuhifadhi mazingira. Kwa hivyo mti huo kama unasumbua, tafadhali mimi naunga mkono, na tushirikiane sote tuhakikishe hii bill imepita, na ministry pia isaidie ili jambo liweze kurekebishwa. Asante.
Mheshimiwa Dena, na uchukue wakati dakika machache.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand to support my colleague, Irene Mayaka, on this amendment. One of the things is when you look at the eucalyptus tree, the consumption in wetlands area, it's already 90 liters. In dry areas, it's 4 liters. I remember when I was going to school in Garissa, 1 liter was something that you are dying for in these dry areas. 2, I will also want to suggest an alternative way of the eucalyptus. We are not suggesting that it should not be planted, because also we have to support our other brothers, like what he's saying, Mengich, on the tea farms. But I think what it should be done, and the minister should done, we set up designated areas and not areas on the wetlands. So I stand to support Irene and congratulate her on this amendment. Thank you.
Moren.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I stand to thank Honorable Irene Muyaka for this bill. When she brought this bill and it came to our committee, we saw the interest and the importance in this bill. Honorable Speaker, what we did is after collecting views and memorandums from different stakeholders, we discovered that this eucalyptus has become a problem all across Kenya. And there are over 100,000 hectares of this tree grown across our country. People are earning out of this. This amendment does not give authority to the Cabinet Secretary to remove all the trees. It is only giving permission the Cabinet Secretary to make regulations on introduction, growth, and maintenance of this tree in references with other trees that are dangerous to our people, to our production, to our economy, like the prosopis that we call in Kiswahili matenge. We wanted the Cabinet Secretary to get that authority, that permission to regulate, so that we control all this. So, Honorable Speaker, this amendment is very important, and it will assist us to move on and to control all dangerous trees. So, thank you.
Yeah, proceed.
I'm still on the same point of order number 95.
Proceed.
That should the mover be called to reply. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, it's a few minutes to the time which was allocated for this, but under the circumstances, I will put the question that the mover be called upon to reply. As many of the opinions say aye. As many of the contrary opinions say nay. The ayes have it. Mover, please proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, let me first take this opportunity to thank my colleagues, the members of Parliament, both this week and last Wednesday, for the overwhelming support towards this bill. And Honorable Speaker, one honorable member in particular tabbed this as a bill of life, which makes a lot of sense. Honorable Speaker, just to highlight some of the concerns that were raised by members, I had one of the members who had asked if at all the environmental experts in this country had done research on this particular tree and recommendations that they gave in terms of where it should be grown.
You have exactly 1 minute to conclude the reply because we have reached the time.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Let me be very quick. So I just want to mention that the research does support that we do avoid planting the eucalyptus tree along our riparian and wetland areas. And the purpose of this bill is to enable the Cabinet Secretary to be able to give regulations that specify where this should be grown. So, Honorable Speaker, so that I do not take any more time, let me just appreciate once again the support from the members, appreciate also the comments from the Environment Committee on their intended amendment, which I also support, and I therefore beg to move. I thank you.
You beg to reply. Excellent.
Sorry, I beg to reply. Thank you.
Honorable members, please. Honorable members, the time being 1:04 p.m., this House stands adjourned until Wednesday, the 20th of November, 2024, at 2:30 p.m.